I can't be on here, big sleepyhead. Make all the mistakes of the day and I'll get sacked then.
Well, hopefully you do get it off. You deserve it.
I deserve it. I know I deserve it. You know, I'm working hard.
Well, listen, we'll either see you Monday or Tuesday.
Best luck to everybody.
But I'll see you Sunday anyway.
Aye, so.
Aye, best luck to all the businesses. It's going to be huge.
It's
all
going
right,
to be a great night. Good luck.
Have a lovely one. Chat to you Sunday. All right, so our Friday panel is going to be joining us very, very shortly. But first, let's get a news update. And it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 11 people have been arrested in connection with the attempted murder of DCI John Codwell. The senior PSNI detective was left with life-changing injuries after a dissident Republican gun attack in Omagh in February. Chloe St John reports.
Police say they've carried out a significant search and arrest operation this morning. 11 arrests have been made, 9 men and 2 women, ages ranging from 21 to 72 years old. They've all been detained under the Terrorism Act in Omagh and Coal Island, but have been taken to the Serious Crime Unit in Belfast for questioning. DCI Caldwell was seen publicly for the first time this week at a garden party hosted by the King and Queen at Northern Ireland's royal residence in Hillsborough.
Rebecca Brown, who died after she was hit by a Garda car in Buncrana, will be laid to rest today. The incident happened on the outskirts of the town last Sunday morning as the 21-year-old was returning from a night out. The circumstances around her death are now being investigated by GSOC. Rebecca will be laid to rest following funeral mass in St Joseph's Church, Gallia at 10 o'clock. A new bill put forward by People Before Profit last night would remove the 3-day wait limit for abortions. The party says it's utterly unnecessary. It's after Taoiseach Micheál Martin confirmed only 11 of the 19 maternity hospitals in the state are providing abortion services. Deputy Breed Smith says doctors shouldn't face criminal consequences for carrying out abortions.
Abortion needs to be decriminalised because there's a strong chill factor over doctors when they have to make difficult decisions about the risk to the life or the health of a woman. And if they make a mistake, then it's a criminal matter. In any other of medical care, it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. That needs to change. And by the way, that section of criminality carries a maximum of 14 years in jail.
Works are set to be carried out to improve safety at a junction in Inishowen following a number of near misses. Visibility at Glenealy Crossroads is set to be limited. Councillor Johnny McGuinness has called for signage warnings of the dangers at the junction to be put in place. He says improvements to road safety are essential.
There's been a number of near misses there already, so it's incumbent upon ourselves to make sure that we've done everything to make our road network in the peninsula as safe as possible. And it would be a disaster if we had a tourist visiting that happened upon an accident or got involved in an accident themselves.
There's fears over further job cuts in Derry. Up to 500 jobs could be lost between the city and Belfast as First Source announces that it has commenced a redundancy consultation process. The Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council, Councillor Sandra Duffy, is seeking an urgent meeting with the company to discuss its future plans. Finally, for weather, dry today with sunny spells mixed with cloud. Highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Like lower prices on everyday essentials? Then make Aldi top of your shopping list. Essentially, Aldi have lower prices on, well, the essentials, including twin pack deli style crumb tam. 230 grams was $3.39, now $3.19. 3 litre light milk was $3.20, now $3.09. And pure Irish creamery butter, 454 grams was $3.39, now $2.99. So whether it's milk, butter or more, Aldi have savings galore. You won't just like more value, you'll love it.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. It's just approaching 4 minutes past 9 on this Friday, the 26th of May, 2023. And you're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show. And it just happens to be the last one of the week. Our Friday panel, I'll introduce them to you right now. We want you very much involved in the conversation as well with your views to 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number from outside the Republic, of course, 003538660 25,000. Give us a call on 074 91 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. And of course, you can watch this show live across our social media. We're on YouTube Ireland to watch on your phone, laptop, tablet, your Fire Stick, your smart TV. And we're across Facebook as well. And you can watch us by clicking Watch Live on our website. So no excuses. Right, let's introduce our guests this morning. We have Michael Harrison, who is a cyber threat consultant. Good morning, Michael. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
It's great to have you with us. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Catherine Noon, lawyer and former Fine Gael senator. Catherine, good morning.
Morning, Greg. Nice to see you.
Great to have you back on the programme. And last and not least, John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune newspaper. Good morning, John.
Morning, Greg.
It's great to have all of you on board. Right. The government's facing fresh differences over a contentious Fine Gael proposal for a €1,000 budget tax cut. This really targeting, I suppose, you could describe them as the struggling working or the squeezed middle. Fianna Fáil sources are sceptical of claims over how many people would benefit from the plan. Controversy emerged this week following a newspaper article written by 3 Fine Gael ministers of state, which argued tax breaks worth €1,000 should be targeted at full-time workers on an average wage of €52,000. Now, I don't believe that to be an average wage here in Donegal, but anyway, the article was seen as unwelcome budget kite-flying by multiple sources within Fianna Fáil. Right, all of you have followed politics for quite some time. I'll start with you, John McAteer. 6 months out from a budget, this would be somewhat unusual, and it seems that Fine Gael has taken its coalition partners by surprise in this move.
I suppose they have in a way because they didn't really expect that the Taoiseach was going to lead that whole charge by announcing €1,000. I think it's €1,000 a year of a tax break for workers on over 50,000. And he keeps talking about the squeezed middle. He created that, and his party, Michael Noonan, created that in 2013 when he raided the pension plots of the private sector. 770,000 of them had substantial money. And that money was needed to build roads, to keep hospitals open and all that in 2013 and 14 and 15. And sure, they went and raided it, and you got up in the morning to discover that they'd taken it, and it went on for 3 years. To pay that back now, which has to be paid back, is estimated to cost about $2,500 per each individual. Now, he should be far better talking about that and why he hasn't paid it back, because it's one of the last remaining vestiges of the cuts during the Celtic Tiger that they didn't pay back. But of course, it's kite flying to the highest order. Fine Gael is winding that up. They're doing poorly in the opinion polls since Leo Varadkar took over last December. And no matter which way they seem to throw the dice, they have this obsession, of course, with Sinn Féin. Who hasn't an obsession with Sinn Féin these days? Even Sinn Féin themselves. But they've left the whole process of government with the partners, particularly with Fianna Fáil, in a complete spin. And you have Donald Creed, the former minister, at the parliamentary party meeting the other night, warning that they weren't going to take lessons from Fianna Fáil, the party that drove the country onto the rocks, and they're still on probation. It's all kind of nonsensical. It's a bit of handbagging, but
it's clever, though, isn't it? It is clever because
is it clever?
Well, it
really
is from a PR perspective for the reasons I'll outline. If it is delivered, it's Fine Gael that delivered it. B, if it's not delivered, it's Fianna Fáil and the Greens that did not deliver it. And as we approach an election, either they get the lift from this being given, or they get the separation and arguably a lift from Fianna Fáil. Denying the hard-working public this money. So, and to do it so far out, they've caught Fianna Fáil by surprise. From a public relations perspective for Fine Gael, it's great, isn't it? No?
But Fianna Fáil has handled it very, very badly by not being out there as well, because they had expected that. They had that forum from Leo Varadkar the day he became Taoiseach back in 2018, was it? And the reality here is that there's going to be a big budget for everybody. It's going to be the same way last year. At this time last year, they were talking up paying €20 a week extra to pensioners just to meet the cost of living. That didn't happen, of course, at the height of the food inflation. They gave them €12, which is a miserly amount. And right down the line, they actually have got money to burn this year and indeed next year if we're going to have two budgets before the next general election in a year from the autumn.
Yeah, but Fianna Fáil will want to be. They're holding the purse strings. They'll want to be seen to be steering steady. This could cost anything up to €3 billion for this one thing, and there's also some sort of disagreement as it relates to how many it might actually benefit. That's the front of the Irish Independent today. I'll come back to you on that. Interested in everyone's views, of course, not least Catherine Noon, lawyer and former Fine Gael senator. What's your take on this, Catherine?
Well, it's interesting. I think you're right. I think it was clever. The very fact that we're talking about it now and that the three particular Fine Gael ministers floated this, I mean, it's not new policy. The Taoiseach has floated this type of policy a lot, and he has consistently spoken about those who get up early in the morning. And, you know, whether you like that kind of rhetoric or not, there is a reality that a lot of my contemporaries and people that I know well, you know, who are paying a lot for a lot of things, feel squeezed. That's not fiction. That's reality. So it's a fair idea, in my opinion, to suggest a policy that would help with that for people around the country in all areas of the country. It is a real thing. So, you know, and as regards, you know, the work that was done by Michael Noonan, I mean, I was a senator at the time. That was a very difficult period. That was post a crash. A lot of very difficult decisions were made. You know, the very fact that we're talking about the country being awash with money and having a surplus, that's also, we have problems.
Yeah, John, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you know, no, but we have problems in...
Of course you can.
Right.
No, I didn't...
Go ahead, all right, that's my fault, Catherine. Go ahead, that's my fault.
I didn't interrupt anyone.
But that was my fault. Go ahead, yeah.
And you lose your flow of thought when that happens, if you don't mind. But the reality is that there are difficulties in the country. We have a housing situation that is very, very challenging, that emanates from that period that was discussed. So, you know, these type of measures to help people, and the fact that the country is awash with money, leaves us in a position, as the previous speaker said, where we can actually give money or, you know, implement policy changes that might help. You know, I mean, there's a certain level of fatigue when a party has been in government as long as Fine Gael have, you know, and, you know, anything that goes wrong, that they will obviously get blamed for, and anything that's right isn't discussed because we have a way in this country of not acknowledging any of the positives, you know. So for those who get up early in the morning, for those who work hard, for those who feel like they're paying a lot and getting very little assistance, I think it would be a really good idea. And I mean, whatever tussle goes on politically between Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, that's politics. They're just doing their job.
So in relation to the country being awash with money, as we're told, and I'm of course very conscious that there's many people listening to this programme that seemed completely irrelevant to, and hopefully the budget in some way might address that. But just to your point in terms of it is not really actually framed as a positive thing, is it? It's almost seen as a negative to have this surplus, and the talk tends to be about, but it's just a happenstance and it's not permanent and it's going to run out, and if we don't do it correctly and we should be writing down national... It is not actually framed, from what I see or read, as you say, Catherine, in fairness, as a positive, and there doesn't seem to be any credit given to any individual or collective for actually producing it.
We're not wired that way as a people. You know, we complain about what's wrong and we don't tend to and the papers don't tend to focus on the things that are going well. You know, that's human nature in a way. But the reality is, and it is frustrating, by the way, to hear that there's a surplus and we're still short of housing, and, you know, that we can't get our act together in health in the way that we should. And, you know, that we have people who are homeless in the country, and that, you know, we have a lot of environmental or outside factors like the war in Ukraine, post-Brexit, post-COVID. It has been a difficult few years.
But then does it not, Catherine, come down to government and what they do and how they communicate? And when I say government, I'm on about any government, not necessarily the current government, because if people felt that services for mental health services and hospitals were improving, or that there were fewer people in poverty, or there was more money in the pocket, or, you know, then they might be able to actually relate to the positive news of a surplus. But 100%. I think the problem is that people hear this number and they talk about us being wealthy, but they don't feel it. And I think that actually causes a greater disconnect and divide. So
total frustration, because you hear of there being a surplus, and in this area where I live, I'm in Fawn near Buncrana, there's a huge shortage of housing for everybody, notwithstanding the people who are trying to help who've come from the Ukraine, and that is very frustrating for people. So there's no point, as you say, it doesn't feel tangible. That benefit doesn't feel tangible. But I would hope that the budget would try and address a lot of that when we have the room to. And it is prudent management of the economy to, when there is a surplus, to make sure you keep some for a rainy day, which is what Fine Gael have consistently done. Yeah. Which isn't acknowledged much either. And, notwithstanding all of the difficulties we have, at least we are in a position with a surplus to make some decisions that can make a difference.
Yeah, I just feel that, and I know nothing other than I sit here a couple of hours every day, I just feel that a party or a government would get more of a bounce if services and general life improved rather than an extra €20 per week in the wage packet, which will, yourself, that'll be framed as, sure, that's not even really matching inflation. So you know what I mean. That's where we're going to end up.
You're quite right. There are more fundamental issues that need to be addressed than handing out a few quid in the budget. But the budget does take care of the spend on everything.
Yeah, no, I get that. But people have to feel it for the benefit of the decision makers. I think. Michael Harrison, what's your view on it? I mean, we're talking about a budget in earnest, 6 months out, really. It's crazy. You've never seen it before.
Well, it's as an ordinary, just an ordinary person, I just think, the discussion paper, the way it was released, I just feel quite cynical about it, about the whole thing, about why it was done, 6 months out, generating discussions, generating distraction from so many other problems that we have at the moment, particularly in this county. Even just picking one thing that just came to my head, I heard another discussion on it this morning, is about child mental health services. Like there's no investment happening in that whatsoever. There's investment in housing. Like we have so many other problems in this, in this country at the moment, in this county at the moment, and all of a sudden you have this discussion paper which is released, which is really and truly very, very old-fashioned politics, going back to the times when Charlie Haughey was, when Charlie Haughey was on these distractions, to distract us from thinking about the real issues that are happening. And I honestly think that people will see through this, and that's why they are treating it with the cynicism that it deserves.
Yeah, because the public consume information and dissect it and process it differently now. Yet we still have it seems in politics and the media, they're doing it still in a way in which I don't really think the general population now consume or disseminate information. I think people are far more critical in their thinking and can see sort of maybe the distraction stuff.
Yeah, they can, and I honestly think that the Fine Gael have misjudged this, because the people will see through. They will see through this. Like from reading it, I don't think it's even been costed properly. This is a discussion paper, and if you have other political parties are going to sit down there, they're going to dissect this and see, can this actually be delivered? And and this is where you have a party there that is under severe pressure in the polls, that is going to take a beating at the next election. They have already lost a number of TDs, very, very eminent people who are not running at the next election. They're having trouble getting people to go forward. And all of a sudden you have this, as far as I'm concerned, as an ordinary person, this is just an absolute distraction. That's all it is. I don't believe, I just see right through it. I give it no credibility whatsoever.
And before we move on, just a quick other point to John first, and then Catherine. This is slightly different, John, and I say Catherine can respond to this herself too. In that, of course, this has been stated by Leo Varadkar in the past. It's probably common knowledge-y type Fine Gael policy, but it was the manner in which it was done. 3 junior ministers writing in a national newspaper, all kind of on the same sheet, and then the senior members of the party not distancing themselves from it. So it's not really. This just carries a little bit more weight than a politician stating what they might want to do.
Effectively, this is the PR machine run amok, actually. We're snowed under in the media with PR releases every day from government departments. You ask the most basic of questions about something here in Donegal, and you get hook, line and sinker, the whole government policy on something that you never asked about at all. They have made it a profession, actually, to answer the questions that you never asked or you would never even intend asking. This is where the cynicism amongst the public comes out about politics. There'll be Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil in leadership. People have no credibility about them anymore. And that's quite understandable. I mean, you go up to A&E at Letterkenny General or any other one in the country. There's nothing wrong with the health system that structured money wouldn't fix. 2 decent wards in Letterkenny Hospital with 50 extra beds, and it would encourage consultants to come in there and stay there if you have the capacity. Consultants don't come in to sit around all day. We're talking about this for over 30 years, and all that has happened is it has gone downhill and gotten worse. The same is to be said of the whole housing situation. There's more and more young people leaving. Even in my own parish here, there's 32 people have left since Christmas time. Most of them couples. They can't afford a house. They will never be able to build a house. They will never get a mortgage. So these are the issues that are not being confronted. People are being priced out of having a house out in rural Ireland. I see it every day of the week. I'm hearing from people who are in that situation. And that's the God's honest truth on the matter. The money is there. It's how it's going to be managed. Is it going to be mismanaged for the sake of winning an election like elections have been won down the years? As you say, going back to Charlie Haughey and to Charlie McCreevy, back in those days when we have it, we're going to spend it. But, you know, on top of all that, the whole infrastructure of the country is literally falling apart between our roads. Just driving our roads in Donegal, they're absolutely appalling.
Is it that bad, John?
It's worse even.
All right. Catherine, do you think people are in for a shock if Sinn Féin pull it off at the next election and then, you know, the reality dawns that, you know, there is a permanent government in situ, that things take an awful long time to adjust, that when you start all of a sudden thinking you can tax the rich, that, you know, certain threats of pulling out of the country or whatever, or moving operations elsewhere begin to be made. Now, I'm not saying that will all transpire, but it possibly could. But do you think people are in for a little bit of a shock when they realise that you can sort of change the faces and the policy a little bit, but the problems are so deep-rooted that it might take many election cycles for to see real positive change?
It's a very fair question, and one that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about. I think Sinn Féin are a very strategic, organised party. They've played the long game. I mean, you have to take your hat off to them in so many ways. What I would think is that, in my experience in politics and outside of politics, trying to get things done, it's very rarely former colleagues who I might chat to about things, you know, just trying to get good stuff done in different areas. It's very rarely a situation where I could fairly say that it's them that's blocking something happening, you know. And, you know, I'm involved with a project where I've been dealing with one department, and the source of frustration, I can't even express it to you. I know that this particular politician is interested in this happening, you know, but it's being blocked, you know, for various reasons. And those nuances are missed, you know, and a part of me would just love Sinn Féin to get in and, you know, for them to be, I don't know how they'll cope with being actually governing the country, because they are an obstructionist type of party in many ways, in that they're used to being in opposition, you know. So it would be very interesting to see how they would manage. But going back to a point that Michael made about, you know, some of my former colleagues who I would know well leaving politics, some of them are younger, some of them are near retirement age. Politics is a very difficult job now. You can say what you like about the money that people earn, and it's a good wage, but the work that goes into it, the level of negativity that it brings to your life, I don't expect any sympathy or whatever acknowledgement even of that, but it is a reality, and it is not an easy career. And for somebody like me, who's a lawyer by profession, to go in and be a politician, it makes no financial sense. So, you know, people usually go into politics because they've got the greater good at heart, or because they feel that they can make a difference. And the way that things have evolved throughout the world, not just in Ireland.
But just in relation to that, though, is it a
politician is just like, you know, you're scum of the earth.
Yeah, but certain jobs and professions are heavily overrepresented in the Dáil, right? Okay. Yeah, well, they are. So is that a coincidence, or are they all in there for the better good, but happen to be in positions of decision-making power that might benefit the areas in which they work and have interests?
I've chatted to you about this before. I mean, like, I'm, as I said, a lawyer by profession. I rarely spoke about legal issues. I nearly always spoke about female health issues, obesity, different issues like around homelessness. I was on the Children's Committee. Like, certain careers, certain backgrounds in your education lend you to politics more readily. It doesn't mean that you don't go in there and just think if you're a farmer, you're only going to speak about farmers.
No, of course not.
But better understanding.
Yeah, but that doesn't. But even if having that impression doesn't necessarily reflect poorly on you or question your motivation either. I'm talking about it as a collective.
No, and I know you're not. I completely understand your question. Maybe I'm not addressing it as well as you might like. But, the point that I was making is slightly separate. And Michael was making the point about people leaving Fine Gael, and they're leaving politics. They're not necessarily leaving Fine Gael. I would see those as actually very bright, they're making a decision for themselves and their families that makes sense. Being a politician in Ireland has become extremely difficult for all parties, and it's not just Fine Gael. And I just say that as somebody who has the objectivity of having been in the career, who can look back and say, God, what was that self-harm?
Well, listen, even on the program yesterday, we had a long chat with Senator Eileen Flynn, who is not a member of a party, who's an independent, and just outlining the choices that have to be made between her job, and also too that if she raises issues on, say for instance, affecting the traveller community, she becomes a lightning rod for criticism,
100%.
as opposed to being lauded for it.
And as a woman, sorry to cut across you, Greg, as a woman, it's a level way worse, and, God forbid a woman would suggest something that, isn't a popular thing to say. I mean, when you try to articulate this, you sound like some sort of crazy feminist, but it's a reality. And the abuse is just intense for all, but especially for women.
I think to the majority of population, you wouldn't sound like that. Michael, so having listened to Catherine, any more sympathy for politicians? I mean, it is.
I would, yeah, I certainly would.
But Catherine's not looking for sympathy, of course.
No, I'm not, Michael, and I take your point as well, But
I certainly would have sympathy for people that put themselves forward for election and to represent their constituents. And you have to remember, in this country, like this country we're 100 years down the road, we're a democracy, and we have a very, very decent number of people representing us in Dáil Éireann and on councils right across the country. Honourable, decent people. And this country's only 100 years old. We should be extremely proud of what we've achieved as a nation. To do this within 100 years, to have decent, honourable politicians. And I can totally understand why anybody would want to leave politics, because I certainly wouldn't be able for.
Well, just on that point, if you don't mind, Michael, I think almost it's any position of power or authority, because there's an awful lot of people listening to this programme today. If the young person come up to them and said, I want to be a member of the Guards, they would say, hold on a second, find something else to do, because, and we're going to talk about that a little later on in the programme, it kind of feels like it's becoming a thankless task, and that the Guards are fair game for criticism. Like, it's not that long ago since we had sort of public sentiment reports to the Gardaí that, held them up on the pedestal and called to the community and lots of respect and all that there. I can't wait to see the next one, because we seem to be in a very different environment. And just for context, Catherine, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, that Michael's a former Garda, of course, as well. So, it's any position of sort of authority or that I wouldn't be too keen personally.
It's been a public servant at the moment. It's the level of scrutiny that people, and it's the level of expectations that people, the people expect of their public servants, whether it be a member of the Garda Síochána, whether it be the nurse in A&E, whether it be the doctor, it doesn't matter. It's it's right across the public service. There's a high expectation of people, and people, and there's this level of entitlement, and it just mightn't be able to be delivered. The policies that they have might be totally inadequate, but it is very, very difficult. And with the Garda members of the Garda Síochána, like, there's very, very few employment positions out there where if you make a mistake, you can face criminal prosecution, you can face criminal sanction, and that is what is making anybody that wants to join the Garda Síochána, they're thinking, they're looking, do I really want to put myself forward into a position like that? It's very, very difficult, and it is the way society has evolved in general, and I really don't know how it can be addressed.
Yeah, I think we're going through a stage. How long that lasts, or if it's permanent change, who is to say? We're in the company of Michael Harrison, cyber threat consultant, who you've just heard from, John McAteer, the editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune newspaper, and lawyer and former Fine Gael senator Catherine Noon. We'll have more from our guests after we take this break. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes.
Ballyshannon and Killybegs Credit Union just got better. Our new current account comes with MasterCard debit card for use in store, online and contactless payments. All with lower transparent fees and with the same trusted personal service you are used to. Open your Ballyshannon Killybegs Credit Union current account today. Drop into branch or join online. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bkcreditunion.ie for details. Ballyshannon and Killybegs Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
When boating, paddleboarding or jet skiing, you don't plan to have an accident. They happen. When they do, you need to be ready. This is Water Safety Ireland. Always wear a life jacket on water. Safety is one thing you can plan for. For advice, visit watersafety.ie. Better safe than sorry. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Why did I choose Ulster? I wanted a university who could give me the biggest possible future, but also the best possible time now. Somewhere I could make friends and have good crack, but also to set me up for the best job possible. I'm planning to take up one of the study abroad options, and then my big plan is to specialise in media law in LA. But for now, NI has one of the lowest student living costs in the UK. So, night markets, here I come.
Learn why over 30,000 students choose Ulster at ulster.ac.uk/go north. Apply now for this September.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time is 9:32. You're very welcome back to the programme. Just a quick one, because it got quite a bit of interest from our listeners. The GEA have reiterated to units their rules around Go Games, the policy that stipulates no competition for children under 12 level and below. Go Games encourages inclusivity through no score keeping, rolling subs, no cups, no medals, but blitzes are regularly organised with a competitive element which the GEA want to see eliminated. So the question is, should under 12s be allowed to play competitive GEA games? And it was interesting talking to a young person on the show yesterday, 14 years of age, who is of the belief, or was of the belief, that it's really important to sort of understand winning and losing from an early age. I'll stay with you on this one, if that's all right, Michael Harrison. As I say, we'll not hang around too long, but what do you think?
It is a delicate balance to achieve, and I honestly believe what the GA are looking to do here is they're looking to keep young people involved in sport as long as possible. And the one thing that I do know about why children lose interest in sport is because they probably don't get the opportunity to play the sport. And this is, if it becomes competitive at under 12, and you have to remember that these are children we're talking about. I know the people standing on the sideline are parents and they might be absolutely passionate about it, but the people on the pitch are children. And it's about keeping the enthusiasm for the sport, for the game, with them as long as possible. Because once they get older, the interest in it falls away. And that's where you get massive drop off in children in Ireland playing sports. But again, with the Guards under 14 competitions, I believe it is time at this stage then to introduce the competitive issue to make them aware that the difference and the importance of winning and and losing and winning a game, that that is important. But with the Guards under 12s, I do agree with that policy. I think it is important to let kids.
So let me put it to you. So I mean, obviously, then it is worth it because it might keep more people, more young people interested in participating in sport. But do we not lose then perhaps an opportunity to teach people through sport that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, that sometimes you have to work harder to be more successful. Sometimes you have to make decisions that something might not necessarily be for you, and to choose something else. Are we not losing? And as well as that too, if you hear of all the top sports people, they're competing from a very young age.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Greg. When I talk to parents about cybersecurity, and I talk to them, and they're talking to me about the children know more about this device than I do. They are so fair. They're completely switched on about this device. They are completely switched on about it. But where we forget, we're talking about children.
Mm.
We're not talking about, they don't have the mental capacity to understand the difference between winning and losing. What we're trying to teach them is how to enjoy the game. How much fun playing a sport can be involved in, and the level of drop off of particularly. And I have attended a county seminar, not in Donegal, where I heard this discussed. The level of drop off of young ladies, once they reach the age of 14 in participating in football, is massive, and they don't get involved with sport again after that. And I honestly think that if you encourage this love of the sport in them and keep it with them as long as possible, you're going to keep them in that sport. Whether it be soccer, whether it be Gaelic.
Or it could be all of it. I think a lot of the problems with girls at that age, particularly if they're particularly talented, because arguably it might be a smaller pool, that they're being asked to play Gaelic, they're being asked to play rugby, they're being asked to play basketball, and rather than to choose one, some of them are actually opting to leave it altogether because there's so much demands on them. So I would like to see us address that if we're actually going to really worry about younger people. John McAteer, do you have a view on this?
Of course I do. I've been covering football all my life and writing about it. And I can't see or understand how you curb the enthusiasm of children of 6 and 7 and 8 not to be competitive, because the human brain becomes very interested and very competitive at a very, very early age. And if you're going to say to them, look, you can't compete until you're 12, is there some way that you sort of switch that off? And that the day that they're 12 years of age, you automatically switch it on and expect them to perform. I mean, if they can't get interested, and I don't know how you control this, I agree with a lot of what Michael is saying there. There's a very high expectation of all parents that their Johnny or Mary Kate is going to be the next one targeted by the Man United or the Man City manager to come over and play for them. It's not like that. But parents do add to the higher expectations of children. It's a good thing, but it needs to be controlled a little bit more. But keeping children almost inactive from competition, it's not in their natural instinct to do that. And I think the GAA is getting that wrong. But then again, if parents can't manage it and if they can't control it, then there are issues there. I mean, what's to stop those children going and playing other sports? I mean, did you ever hear of any country that has children banned from being competitive under 12 years of age?
See, I recently watched a game for under 12s, and it was a game of Gaelic football, and it was lovely. They were running up and down and kicking points and scoring goals, but no score was kept whatsoever. And then when it was almost like one team was getting the upper hand, even though they were from different parishes, players were switched between it, and then the other team was running up and down and scoring points and goals, and nothing. Nothing. There was no score kept. I kind of, and I'll put this to you, Catherine, I kind of struggled to see what the function of it was. It was a training exercise, or maybe improving on the skills. I wasn't really quite sure what was going on, if that makes sense. And I don't mean that harshly, but I didn't know what was happening. You're muted there. Sorry, Catherine.
Apologies. I agree with both John and Michael on this and most of what they both said. And it kind of is about balance. I mean, the fact that the GAA have put this policy in place means that there is an issue, I would think. I don't have children myself, so I wouldn't be as close to it as maybe some other people. But just from, I'd be a long-suffering Mayo supporter and a long-time GAA fan as well, you know. But what happens is a lot of the time is that the best best are nurtured and the rest are neglected. And, that happens when, and I totally take the points that both John and Michael have said, and I'd agree with them. It's hard to know what's best because coaches and parents, as John was saying, a lot of the time, they're the ones really pushing for the child. And I mean, the Irish dancing, I mean, do you remember the controversy around that? And, there was all sorts of crazy shenanigans going on. And it just came down to these parents, I think, maybe living their youths again or something. People need to get a hold of themselves. I mean, at the end of the day, it has to be fun for children. I agree with John's comments in particular about competitiveness. So it's hard to know how to harness that, but while still letting them have fun and enjoy it. And, it's not on really that children would be training in the way that adults do. And that search for talent identification and cultivation earlier and earlier and earlier, that's a thing. So I would think that's why the GAA have done this. But, I think we've established between the lot of us that's a hard one to know exactly how to address it.
But the person most firm in their views, I think, on this is Michael. And Michael, so these rules are there, really, are they? Because fundamentally, we as adults can't control ourselves. Coaches can't sort of say, right, okay, I'm going to give equal attention, not just to the superstars of the future, or mums and dads and guardians on the sidelines can't keep their mouths shut.
As I said, it's people forgetting that the young people are running up and down the pitch for children, and that is, if we remember that, then it'll be okay. And I think the GAA are right to experiment with this, see how it goes, because there is a problem nationally. I've heard it discussed where young people are dropping off. And they are dropping off, and the participation, particularly in the teenage years, becomes less and less. And it's trying to harness that, try to keep it. And it is a worthwhile experiment to see how it works out. And it is just, and children, it's about, they can enjoy the game. Like, if children are out there kicking the ball, like, who knows that they're not enjoying themselves? As parents, we mightn't enjoy watching it because we don't know who's winning or who's losing it.
Oh, what's happening?
It is our competitive streak that is there, that we want to be standing on the sidelines screaming and making runs for referees and whatever, about decisions that are made.
Oh, I've seen that
remember
too.
That they're children.
I've seen that too at I think it might have been under 14s. The abuse the referee got was just unbelievable.
Remember the Unbelievables where one of them was like, and you won't know what get out there, insult their mother, insult their aunt, and you won't know what the hell hit you next year when you're playing under 14.
Okay.
It's a bit like that.
I mean, are you going to allow these children to watch the All-Ireland series, which is highly competitive? Or where do you draw a line here?
But they could watch the All Ireland series, right, and go out and emulate their heroes on the pitch without the fear of losing.
No,
okay,
no,
right,
no.
okay. I'm going to have to take.
You can't have children of 10 or 11 years of age sitting back there. We can't be competitive. They'll go off somewhere else and be competitive at something else.
That is a thing. Yeah.
Could you blame them?
But as Michael says, it's an experiment, and we have to try something. Okay, back with more from our guests. You go ahead, John. Is it
not a handy way out for the GAA to push the responsibility onto the parents entirely?
Right. On that bombshell, we'll take a break.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure Main Street, Letterkenny. All the kids are back playing football with longer days and shorter nights. Kids football boots from only €25, available in Velcro or lace. Check our new range of kids boots, shorts, socks and accessories. Visit our new club room with quarter zips, t-shirts and matching bottoms for your favourite local club. Click on Teamwear at bmcsports.ie for more details.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello summer, hello sunshine, hello to a fantastic range of summer bedding, baskets baskets and containers lovingly grown in Letterkenny at Alcorn's Garden Centre. Choose from thousands of perfect plants and shrubs with expert advice and everything you need to plant and care for them. Open every day and now accepting Shop LK vouchers. Alcorn's, where value grows every day.
Donegal Tile Centre are celebrating 35 years in business, and their massive 3-day sale continues today, Friday and Saturday, with 35% discount of selected items. Wall tiles are reduced from €16.95 a square yard to €11, with timber effect floor tiles reduced from €22.95 a square yard to €14.90. There's vanity units down from $460 to $299, and freestanding baths reduced from $1,230 to $799. Stock is limited, so don't delay. For these genuine bargains, get along this week to Donegal Tile Centre, Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout.
Kind of was thinking just during the break there on our last conversation that, the young ones are out playing the GEA and there's no winners, no losers, and then they go home and start playing FIFA on the PlayStation and put the controller through the TV screen. When they don't get a win. Listening to you there about underage players, I witnessed it for years that the kids with no skills were left on the sideline while ones who never showed up for training got on. Don't get me wrong, coaches do a great job, but they sometimes ignore the kids with less skills. It's all about the wins. Another, we learn by our mistakes. It fosters a motivation to grow, develop and improve. In Irish dancing, not everyone gets a medal. I've seen children slowly develop to become winners, and it means so much more to them, or is it their parents anyway? People who do win have to work hard to keep winning, and they do lose at times, but that makes winning more of an achievement. Another, it's the mentality of the parent and some coaches that needs to change. Education is the key. And last, just for now on this topic, I blame everyone. Is a winner culture. It's a huge factor in rising mental health issues. Development of coping skills at an early age and building resilience is paramount in child and adolescence development. Inclusion is key, but it's all about balance. But I would say there's benefits too to being involved in sport in the long term and being around your friends and participating in someone's positive mental health as well. Just a quick question, if you wish here. A listener was registering their child for an under-6s sports class and was shocked when it came to selecting the child's gender. The options were male, female, non-binary, other, and prefer not to say. They say this is completely unacceptable for children of this age. What's your view? Do you share their concerns, or do you welcome the more inclusive language? Catherine, as I say, we didn't. This has only just come in, so it's off the top of the head. But go ahead.
It's a difficult one. It really is. And it's very contentious. And for anyone on Twitter, it's a huge issue. I mean, there's a fine line between encouraging a child to potentially change gender and actually being open to them wanting to at a certain age. Like, I had a cousin when we were younger who was definitely a bit of a tomboy, short hair, tractors, she married a man, she wasn't a boy, it's a difficult area to talk about because it's hard to know what is the best to do in those type of circumstances.
Not talking about that person, right? But if you don't mind, not talking about that person, but talking about another person who would be similar. In this day and age, might they find adults sort of going, do you feel like a boy? Do you... and I know it's a difficult conversation, but is that the potential that maybe now that person wouldn't be allowed to fully go through whatever things they were in life and then find their path themselves?
That's what I'm saying. There's a fine line between encouraging it and being receptive if there is an issue, and I certainly wouldn't identify. I mean, the person I'm talking about definitely wouldn't.
I get that.
Lady or anything. So sorry if I, I didn't intend to potentially identify anyone, but, and it's in a very harmless way that I say that, but it's a fine line. It's a really fine line, and it's very difficult for parents and teachers to navigate that stuff. And there's a fine line between becoming totally open, being encouraging. There are kind of three layers of it, that you're totally open, that we have an open society where we're accepting of people regardless of their choices sexually and otherwise, or actually encouraging children who would otherwise, be the gender that they were born. And, it's a tricky one, Greg.
Yeah, because
it's not a comfortable one to talk about.
No, it isn't. And we're trying to be really sensitive. And of course, I'm not going to get into the deep parts of it that can be so divisive. But I just think with children nowadays, I saw a study out of America, and it was not left or right or in the middle or whatever, but it literally just was asking children how they identified. And I can't remember the exact percentage, but I won't use it. But it was up close towards half identified in either LGBTQI, right? And I don't necessarily. I just think that maybe because you're a child and you're developing, that might be more. You might find yourself saying, "Yeah, I feel I'm in that space more than you might." And of course, we don't talk about necessarily defined genders anymore. So the children don't have the guidance, and that seems to be right. Well, that's a place that I maybe fit in more. And John, what is your views now? This is adults registering their children. This is not under sixes that are accessing these choices. So let's be clear about that. But for under sixes, the options were male, female, non-binary, other, or prefer not to say. So as I say, the children aren't exposed to that, but it is. It's an interesting drop-down menu for parents, I think, when they're registering a 4-year-old for a sports class.
Oh, absolutely. And what Catherine says there is 100% right. It's going to be a very, very challenging one to deal with. It also begs the question, at what age should you have to start making decisions around that? I would know of parents, again, like Catherine, I know of a parent who decided for the child what their gender was going to be and sending to school in a different garb. And I mean, after a couple of years, that all changed. At that age, 6, is that the right age to start making those kind of decisions, or is it far too young? I believe it's far, far too young. No more than all sorts of issues of that kind that you're confronted with. You will only be wise after the event. And I mean, in 10 years' time, you may be told that we have handled this very badly. We don't probably have the right guidance educationally or psychologically on this.
Do you think as adults we need to actually, if we all really care about children, which we really do, and we want to have a proper conversation about that, there's a few things we might have to strip out. Drag queens, for example, the word grooming, religion. Do you know what I mean? Stuff that our adults are arguing about on Twitter that all gets lumped in, and we actually can't have a conversation. We've been dragged into a space where, and Catherine quite rightly points out, it's very difficult to have a conversation. You could be cancelled, or a clip could be taken, and you could be described as this, that, or the other, or even using the phrase tomboy. Do you know what I'm on about? Like, so
you see,
if we really care about kids, we have to figure out how to talk about this without taking each other's heads off.
We're living in a country where it seems the obvious thing to do is take sides one way or the other without sort of a middle ground that could be either or. I'm not too sure where we fit on that. I think we lack the skills educationally. We lack the skills professionally. The teaching and the training is not there to advise parents. I mean, to me, from having worked in the health system for 21 years, 6 is a very young age to be asking anybody to decide what the sexuality of their child might turn out to be. And it's something that probably needs a lot more discussion around it. We're trying to discuss it here this morning in our own simple way, yet we don't have an issue about discussing it. But it needs to become much, much more open. There would need to be agenda set there from a medical point of view to inform parents on that, and from a psychological point of view, which is probably more important at that age of their very formative years.
It is actually quite interesting that I don't think a government has assembled, like they did with COVID, for an example, on such an important issue affecting people, assembled like a proper group of medics and psychologists and what have you to assist parents and caregivers in this, because I think you make a really good point there. Michael, can I come to you? What's your, as I say, and I want to just reiterate, this is not children that have to make this choice. This is a parent being asked to make this selection, but it maybe talks to the atmosphere out there.
Yeah, I think I think the other two speakers, they have addressed most of the points there that I would mention. There is definitely a fear out there about discussing this, because there's the fear, as you say, about this, the cancel culture that exists at the moment, that's saying the wrong things about this, and I think that's why a lot of groups are including these other types of sexuality in the drop-down menus. But asking a parent of a 6-year-old that question, I really would ask that organisation ask that question. What national guidance have they got to ask a parent of a 6-year-old that question? Have they, is this something that they are doing just to keep the cancel culture people happy by including all these things, or is it a legitimate question that you can ask of a 6-year-old? What research have they used? To do this, but what research exists? And again, I completely agree with you. It is time that the government, that they introduce a national policy on this to decide how we're going to deal with this question, because it is causing problems, for different sections of our communities, that these questions are being asked, and it's something that the government are saying, well, we'll sit in our hands and we'll do nothing. It's something that the nettle is going to have to be grasped.
Yeah, because it is driving actually hate to groups of individuals that we thought we'd overcome in the past. Catherine, you wanted to come in there, please.
I just thought, and I agree with, but we're very agreeable with one another this morning. But the fundamental sex education program in schools, I came across this during the 8th Amendment stuff. We tend to deal with the output rather than the actual issues a lot of the time. And really, our sex education program in schools isn't to standard, and parents need to be assisted, I think, in many cases with, as both John and Michael have said, with guidelines, or what to do in these circumstances, or what to not do, and I think education is key. And I have always found our approach to sex education and anything to do with there's a big difference between gender and sexuality, and a lot of people don't even fully understand that. So I think we really need to grow up on this stuff as a country, and get educated on it properly. And when you try to do that, you get a whole load of kickback amongst all of the different parties that John and Michael have talked about, that we shouldn't be teaching children certain things, and but
I think parents need to actually know what is being taught, though. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of it's stick figure stuff, and it's about children knowing if anything inappropriate's happening to them. But there's an awful lot of stuff out there that's not there, and then there's stuff that is there that's not being talked about. And it's just people, if they have information and knowledge, they can make formed decisions rather than relying on the opinion of someone that they just tend to follow. I wish we had more time, Catherine. We don't. Thank you so very much indeed, Catherine Noon. It's great to have you on the show as always. Have a lovely weekend, will you?
Thank you.
And enjoy the beautiful fawn weather. As you know, it's like that all year round.
Amazing.
Take care of yourself. Michael, thank you very much indeed. Great to have you on the programme. I really appreciate you accepting our invite. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Greg. Take care.
Bye-bye. And John McAteer, as always, great to hear your views. Let's not leave it so long. Thank you very much indeed, John.
Thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself. Okay, thank you. And thanks to all of you texting in and getting involved in that conversation. Back after these.
If you need school transport for your children for the 2023-24 school year, Friday the 9th of June is an important deadline. The Bus Éireann School Transport Portal is open for payment or for entering medical card details until Friday the 9th of June. Late applications or payment may mean that a ticket is not available. To check eligibility, make your payment or enter your medical card details, go to buseireann.ie/school transport by Friday the 9th of June. An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
I have the right to make decisions that matter to me.
Decisions about my money, my property, where I live.
Decisions about care and medical treatment. If I need formal supports.
The new decision support service can help.
And if I want to plan ahead.
So that my wishes are always known and respected. I could do that too.
The decision support service can help me and those close to me.
To understand the options available. My decisions.
My rights.
To find out more, visit decisionsupportservice.ie.
There's fantastic value at Homeland Letterkenny Garden Centre this Saturday, 27th of May, for their Garden Super Saturday. Buy Homeland Lawn Hero and get a 5-litre sprayer free. All shrubs buy 2 get 1 free, and there's multi-purpose compost buy 2 get 1 free. Shop in store at Homeland Letterkenny with expert advice from our experienced team. Offers mentioned available this weekend only.
€250 beef price gap. For more, here's Paul Mooney.
In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we reveal how a massive price gap has opened up between factories. Department mapping peatlands for new cap rules. State body snaps up 1,500-acre hill farm for €1 million. Taoiseach concern re-wetting law goes too far. We reveal how your co-op ranks in our milk price review. And find out how you can cut your tax when transferring your farm.
All in this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
Dunfanny Golf Club on the North Atlantic coast. Come join us with opens on Wednesday and Saturday. Come challenge your game against a links course that will test you. With incredible value and great prizes, put Dunfanny Golf Club on your playlist this summer. To book, call 074 9136 335. Dunfanny Golf Club. Just magical.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New, fresh colours in women's sportswear from Nike and Under Armour. Get that new look with some bright colours. Quarter zips with t-shirts and fitness bottoms. Match it up with some new arrivals in our footwear for women. Brooks, Hoka, and On Running gives you a unique comfort sensation. View our new arrivals. Click on bmcsports.ie for your free delivery.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Join us for the Hyundai 232 Celebration Week, May 22nd to 28th. Celebrating Ioniq 6, winner of World Car Design of the Year, World Electric Car of the Year, and overall World Car of the Year 2023. And the Ioniq 5, winner of the same awards in 2022. Visit the Hyundai 232 Celebration Week to order your new Hyundai from our multi-award-winning range, including Ireland's best-selling car, the Tucson. Hyundai, a class apart.
The 232 Celebration Week is now on at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny, until Sunday the 28th.
Curdach noch an keen le Generation Apprenticeship. Agus dionta shuntasacha curha fáil mar réan le ifig náisiúnta printí seachta nua. Bei deisina den chéad scohan de gnóna idir vilg agus wúr. Tá santaceocht fáil freisin, rud a chiúrí deis don tríha bheaga únéirí sipi agus de cheardíthe an nóa Herbert agus an jartú trí printí seacha arcú. Ná cáil an deis seo túr cuairt apprenticeship.ie inniu. Tugra do chud rialtas na hÉireann.
Live, on air, online, and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's just gone 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. In the north, 11 people have been arrested in connection with the attempted murder of DCI John Caldwell. The senior PSNI detective was left with life-changing injuries after a dissident Republican gun attack in Omagh in February. With more, here's Chloe St. John.
Police say they've carried out a significant search and arrest operation this morning. 11 arrests have been made, 9 men and 2 women, ages ranging from 21 to 72 years old. They've all been detained under the Terrorism Act in Omagh and Coal Island, but have been taken to the Serious Crime Unit in Belfast for questioning. DCI Caldwell was seen publicly for the first time this week at a garden party hosted by the King and Queen at Northern Ireland's royal residence in Hillsborough.
The 21-year-old woman who died after she was hit by a Garda car in Buncrana at the weekend is being laid to rest this morning. The incident happened on the outskirts of the town on Sunday morning as Rebecca Brown was returning from a night out to the house where she was staying. The circumstances around her death are now being investigated by GSOC. Rebecca is being laid to rest following her funeral mass, which has just got underway in St Joseph's Church in Gallia, Derry. The chair of the HSC's Regional Health Forum is urging Celta to make space available at Letterkenny University Hospital where children attending the emergency department can wait, particularly children with autism and other special needs. When Councillor Jerry McMonigal questioned senior Celta management about the issue this week, they said when a child is triaged in the emergency department and has a diagnosis of autism, every effort is made to expedite their time in the emergency department, and where possible they're cared for in a single room or in an area with minimal activity and noise. They also confirmed they're working on a specific space and protocol for children in Letterkenny, but that's not yet been implemented. Well, Councillor McMonigal says that process must be sped up.
All children who attend the emergency department are put in with adults, are put in with all the trauma cases, and they sit there for hours and they witness things that they shouldn't be witnessing. They have pledged that they are working towards creating a solution to that, where they will be separating children, particularly paying attention to children who need more care and attention. Till that happens, I think we need to be putting aside rooms where children can be treated and can wait with their parents outside of having to witness the traumas that goes on every day and night in an emergency department.
A new bill put forward by People Before Profit would remove the 3-day wait limit for abortions. The party says it's an utterly necessary piece of legislation. It's after a Taoiseach Micheál Martin confirmed to the Dáil that only 11 of the 19 maternity hospitals in the state are providing abortion services. Deputy Breed Smith says doctors shouldn't face criminal consequences for doing so.
Abortion needs to be decriminalised because there's a strong chill factor over doctors when they have to make difficult decisions about the risk to the life or the health of a woman. And if they make a mistake, then it's a criminal matter. In any other of medical care, it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. That needs to change. And by the way, that section of criminality carries a maximum of 14 years in jail.
Works are to be carried out to improve safety at a junction in Inishowen following a number of near misses. Visibility at Lenili Crossroads is said to be very limited. Councillor Johnny McGuinness has called for a signage warning of the dangers at the junction. He says improvements to road safety there are essential.
There's been a number of near misses there already, so it's incumbent upon ourselves to make sure that we've done everything to make our road network in the peninsula as safe as possible. And it would be a disaster if we had a tourist visiting that happened upon an accident or got involved in an accident themselves.
There are fears of possible further job cuts in Derry. Up to 500 jobs could be lost between the city and Belfast. First Source has announced it's commenced a redundancy consultation process. The Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council, Councillor Sandra Duffy, is seeking an urgent meeting with the company to discuss its future plans. And temperatures are set to soar to 21 degrees Celsius this weekend. The Irish Coast Guard is warning people to be extra vigilant on or near the water. Evelyn Cusack is head of forecasting for Met Éireann. She says it's looking good for the next few days.
First of all, the weekend, obviously today beautiful everywhere, and tomorrow a little bit cloudier on Sunday, so Saturday slightly the better day. The warmest day, temperature 17 to 21 degrees. Sunday a little bit cooler and northwesterly, a bit more cloud. It looks like from our modelling that the first week in June anyway looks pretty good.
And as always, of course, Greg will be looking at the weather in a bit more detail during the final hour of the 9 till noon show this morning. The Met Éireann summary as of now is it'll be dry today with sunny spells mixed with a little bit of cloud. Top temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees Celsius today in a mostly light northeast breeze. Similar conditions tomorrow, but temperatures set to be a little bit warmer. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Friday morning, May the 26th. The death has taken place of Dan McElhaney, Mallinwell, Ballygorman, Mallinhead. His remains are reposing at his home. Removal from there on Sunday morning at 11:30 for 12 noon Mass in the Star of the Sea Church, Mallinhead, with interment afterwards in Lags Cemetery, Malin. House private from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. The death has taken place of Francis McColgan, Lafferty, Glen Toskirt, Glengad, Malin. Removal this afternoon at 1 o'clock from Liam Collins' funeral premises, going to the home of his nephew Neil and Mary McColgan, Glen Toskirt. Family time from 10 p.m. until 10 a.m. Funeral Mass will take place on Sunday morning at 10:30 in St Patrick's Church, Aughaclay, Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the Patients Comfort Fund, Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member or Liam Collins, funeral director. Funeral Mass for Francis can be viewed live on the Mallinhead Community Facebook page. The death has taken place of Seamus James Kern, 2 Ardgrania, Stranorder, and formerly the Rohan Ramelton. His remains are reposing at the family home, the Rohan Ramelton. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Ramelton. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Vincent Gavigan, Common Ardra. Funeral from McCabe's funeral premises this afternoon at 22:03, going to the Church of the Holy Family Ardra for funeral mass at 3 o'clock. Funeral premises is private to family only, please. The death has occurred of Owen Martin McGonigal, Kin Valley Cruey, Burton Port, reposing at his residence today. Removal and wake are private to family and close friends only, please. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Columbus Church Acres, with interment afterwards in Belcritch Cemetery. The death has taken place in Glasgow of Sally O'Neill, née Doherty, Carmore, Glentower, Carndonagh. Removal from her brother Jerry and his wife Joan Doherty's residence this morning at 10:15, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Kathleen Murphy, née Griffin, Drumnahoe, Letterkenny. Funeral from her late residence this morning at 10:15, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by private cremation at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Funeral can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. And the death has taken place in Glasgow of Rosemary Sheridan, formerly of Creevery, Rathmullen, reposing at her home in Creevery, Rathmullen from 3 o'clock until 10 o'clock tomorrow. Funeral from there on Sunday at 12 noon for 12:30 Requiem Mass in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen, followed by interment in the adjacent cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. The Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Great special offers like Nikki Soft Touch Toilet Tissue 24-roll, only €7. Exclusive to Real Rewards members only. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. So follow the 1, 2, 3 and save money at Super Value. T's and C's apply.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
And thank you to all of you who did during our conversation with Michael Harrison, John McAteer and Catherine Noon. Again, thank you to all three for taking part. A caller says, I suppose regarding the gender question, the bigger question is, why is it being asked? What way will the information be used? Presumably, it's how the child would be addressed. I can't imagine any other reason as to why, or if it's for a sport, maybe it's to break up the teams, I don't know. Will the child be treated differently, asked another? Will they be in a different team depending on the answer selection? I don't know. Catherine summed it up well. Being receptive is different to encouraging children. And another, those apps for signing up are done out for adult groups, men and women, and underage groups, probably easier for clubs that have all the teams, so probably aimed at older groups, indeed, but it still leaves some parents wondering, why am I being asked this question? A caller says, you're born either male or female until you're 18. That's the way it should be. Another, years ago in our youth, we identified with groups according to our music tastes. Mods, rockers, cure heads. Nowadays, the kids are encouraged to pick a gender ideology group to hitch themselves to. And yes, but to some extent, there are different types of group now that might seem alien to older people, and within those groups then they can be associated with certain ideologies, not just in terms of gender either. I agree with Michael in the present policy for children under 12. I thought the GEA was for all. Let the children have the opportunity to taste the game, and the ones who want to pursue the game at a higher level can do so. What about inclusivity? After all, it's supposed to be an amateur sport. Sure, don't many people play golf just for exercise and enjoyment without needing cups or medals? Oh, I don't know. I think most people that are in a club playing golf do play competitively, but I do take your point, and that's the whole nature of the handicap system, to ensure that everyone can compete compete equally with another. But as I say, I'm not discrediting your point. And it should be pointed out, in case I didn't make it very clear, the GAA have sent out a diktat saying that they don't want any blitz or competition or anything for under-12s. No scorekeeping, no nothing. A caller says at School Sports Day now there are no winners. It's ridiculous. Really? So you don't get anything for crossing the line in the three-legged race? Is that across the board? I don't know. I say I might lean more towards John's views. That being said, Michael and Catherine did make compelling arguments. A caller says teens drop out of a lot of activities, whether competitive or not. Yeah, indeed. Hi, there are too many children being kept on the sideline, believes another. It must be very demoralising. I think it's as simple as that, thanks. Yes, indeed. And again, that is one that kind of moves my opinion towards the GEA's attitude on it. A caller says, my young fellow was a middling good Gaelic football player. He's 11. He doesn't want to play anymore because they're not allowed to win a game. That's the flip side. Another, stopping competition denies those with talent to get the encouragement and credit they deserve. It also breeds an attitude that you don't have to practice or put in the effort because everyone wins whether you try or not. Kids need to learn that life is competition and is a competition. Those who put in the effort tend to succeed. Let's see here. No government could have predicted the pandemic or the Ukraine war. I think this government deserves more credit than it's been getting. Another, Donegal's not awash with money. The hospital services are at collapsing point and our most vulnerable are suffering. It's disgusting. Another, does this lady, that's Catherine Noon, not realise that in this country they are not just leaving politics, they're leaving this overtaxed country? Can Michael name us one good politician we gave in Ireland that's not corrupt? We have in Ireland. Well, I mean, that's asking Michael to prove a negative there, which is an argument that one can't win. Greg, could the panel comment on progress or lack thereof of the four-lane project at the Port Bridge? It wasn't on the agenda today and it's very Letterkenny focused as well and try and keep it general. But what's your view? That's what I'm interested in. What's your view on the progress or lack thereof of the four-lane project? I want to hear what you have to say. A caller says, politics is a joke in this country. The hate speech legislation had one politician talking about it in the Dáil the day it passed. One, can't do anything right. Children's Hospital is the biggest disaster the country has seen. I could have built 4 amazing hospitals, one in each province for the money that they spent on it. A caller believes we are on to democracy if the government removes our neutrality, which we don't really have, but I take your point, and introduces the hate speech laws, which really I haven't really gotten to the bottom of. I mean, I hear a lot of people giving very extreme examples, but haven't really, as much as I tried to on this programme, and we will revisit it again, heard a proper debate as to, we had a Sinn Féin representative who dismissed much of the scaremongering, if I can put it like that, element of the debate on the hate speech laws. But anyway. Staffing of hospitals in the Northwest region is an issue. Look at the new Enniskillen Hospital. It's got a major problem with getting staff to work there. And it's not just here. Down in Galway, a team of consultants have written a letter to Cialta and the HSE saying that the hospital's not safe. That's Galway, because it's operating way over capacity. So it seems right across, particularly the Western Seaboard, not exclusively, but that's how it feels.
Your COVID-19 booster vaccine clinic update, brought to you by the HSE.
If you're over 70 or have a weak immune system, check out the free walking COVID-19 spring booster vaccination clinics running for a limited time in the Letterkenny Business Park today, Friday from 9:15 to 4 p.m. and tomorrow, Saturday at 8:15 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. and also in the Donegal Town PC Centre today from 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Your booster will top up your immunity against COVID-19 for the months ahead, protecting you from serious illness. Another booster will be offered in the autumn to protect you over the winter months. Please remember to bring a photo ID that shows your date of birth, to check clinic times, and for more information visit hse.ie/walk-in.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 26th of May. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S5. It's game number 21. The numbers are 1, 12, 50, 8, 59, 69, 16, 58, 39, and finally 32. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
€250 beef price gap. For more, here's Paul Mooney.
In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we reveal how a massive price gap has opened up between factories. Department mapping peatlands for new cap rules. State body snaps up 1,500-acre hill farm for €1 million. Taoiseach concern re-wetting law goes too far. We reveal how your co-op ranks in our milk price review. And find out how you can cut your tax when transferring your farm.
All in this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
Are you looking for a safe and secure way to store your belongings? Look no further than Space Hub. We offer high-quality new insulated containers that you can rent or buy. Keep the container in our secure yard or have it delivered to your own property. Contact us today to learn more about our container rental and storage services. Call Martin at Space Hub now on 04871 878077 for more details.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Okie doke. You're welcome back to the programme. And this is why I struggle when we start talking about how wealthy the country is and attributing, praise or recognition or what have you, because we also primarily deal with the reality that wealth is not making its way down the chain and people are at the pin of their collar. And that's being felt in our food banks. We covered this extensively over the last couple of weeks. We're continuing it now with the assistance of Ruth Garvey-William, who's volunteer with Inishowen Food Bank. Thanks for taking the time to join us, Ruth, on this important matter.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Right. The Inishowen Food Bank, which does amazing work like all our food banks and those working in this area to help people, presumably is also seeing extra additional pressures on its services, more demands.
Absolutely. Over the last 4 or 5 months, we've seen about a 25% increase in demand on the service, and that sort of compounded by the cost of living crisis, which we're really struggling ourselves because donations are down, understandably.
Yes, and of course the donations that you receive don't go as far as they did in the past. It's like a catch-22, isn't it?
Yes, Greg, we've been tracking, the pundits will tell you that inflation is a certain number, but we've been tracking the receipts. We buy the very cheapest items, and since April last year, our receipts have gone up by 25%.
Wow.
That's a huge amount when we're buying goods, and it's all on the most cheapest, most basic items. I was thinking, our poorest families, if you have to have 25% hike on your shopping bill, their income has not gone up by 25%. So how is anybody going to cope with that?
Yeah, and you're seeing it far more than maybe people out and about will, because you're buying specific products, things like pasta, buying it on a scale, whereas, I might buy one every couple of weeks, do you know what I mean? So I'm not feeling those increases or tin products. And well, so you actually really get to see those increases in the staples, I think far better than us with a general shopping basket sort of a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed it myself, although we were feeling the pinch personally, but it's when I actually stopped to look at the receipts and we were struggling to, the same amount of money was just not going so far. And then I just literally got out the receipts from last year and compared, and it was actually quite shocking to see the amount things have gone up, just those really, really basic things.
Speaking to your colleagues down the county, and I wonder is it the same on the peninsula, they are seeing changes. They're seeing people having to come on a more regular basis. They're seeing working families having to come and seek support. They're seeing individuals and families that were contributors in the past now finding themselves having to avail of the services. Are those patterns that you're seeing across Inishowen and your various centres as well, Ruth? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. It's quite shocking. It's not it's not what you might expect. People are finding it really hard, and when they get to the point of coming to the food bank, often they're really, really desperate because they've waited and waited, tried to make ends meet and tried to struggle. So that's been quite hard. And I know the good news is we've seen people needing our help in emergency situations and then getting back on their feet. And what's wonderful is so many of them will contribute back into the food bank, which is great. But it's definitely getting worse, I have to say.
Yeah, and I presume you're also then seeing people having to come more regularly, rather than if there is a bit of a financial blip for people and they are struggling, they might come and you might not see them again down the county a bit. People are reporting that, they're seeing people having to engage more regularly with the services, which is also a little bit different than it might have been in the past.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. And it's a worry for us because obviously we don't want to create dependency. We want to be an emergency help. But, people really are finding things hard at the moment. And, and we don't want to put any extra burden on the people who donate because, as you know, the people of Donegal are the most generous anywhere in the world, or that's what I feel. And people are really seeking to dig deep and donate, but they can't afford to anymore. So it's a challenge, and I think it's a challenge that has to go back to the highest level.
Yeah, and we might talk about that. But Ruth, we are also reaching today people that perhaps do have a little bit of capacity and haven't donated before. And having heard your words about we never know when we might be in the same situation, might want to help out because there is still people out there with resources, and not to put pressure on people that don't have them. But can we speak to people who go, wow, okay, this is a bit of a wake-up call for me. I didn't know it was like this in Inishowen. So how can people who can afford to help and want to help do so?
Yeah, Greg, that's a really great point. And I'm sure there are some people who'd love to donate, and we have such generous people. Most of the supermarkets across Inishowen have some kind of trolley or somewhere to donate, definitely in Moville and Condona and here in Buncrana. There are opportunities also to donate financially, which sometimes can go a bit further in the sense that we tend to shop savvy and be really careful of how we use the funds. So those can be donated via the exchange through PayPal, and that is a great way to donate. We do share funds across all of the centres. So if people give a big donation, we will share it out to make sure every centre has funds to buy food.
Okay, so if you're out shopping today, and I think sometimes we roll up to the counter, and it's not the same for everyone, by the way, but sometimes you roll up to the checkout and you don't know if it's going to be €72 or €83 or 94, and you hope it's going to be the lower, but perhaps you can afford the higher. Throw an extra pasta sauce into the trolley or rice or tinned stuff and throw it into that basket on the way past. But as you say too, if you can get the cash, you can spend that perhaps more wisely than otherwise. But either way, there's an opportunity for people if they have some resources and feel that they want to help their fellow person. And God, we need to sort of get together again as a community. As you say, we're brilliant, but we just don't want to lose looking out for each other. And I just would love to see all this kite flying, about €1,000 here and there, hugely important, don't get me wrong, but wouldn't it be great to see a fund distributed amongst our food banks that we know would get to and help the most the people that need it most in our society? We have a network there. We just need to fund them and facilitate, and with money, and help you guys, you volunteers out. I don't understand why we're not doing that. It would be such a lift for any politician that announced that or made it happen, and it would potentially really make a difference if you were given £1,000 by government, you know what I mean, or whatever it might be.
Amazing, thank you. Thanks, Greg. I mean, you speak so wisely, and I really appreciate that. I think, that's if anyone is listening at the highest level, we are seeing on the ground people really hurting, and it hurts in every aspect. It's not just finance, it's their mental health is suffering. People are worried, they're anxious, they're struggling, they're finding it really difficult. Their health is suffering because if you're on a very low income, you can't eat as healthily. So I think this is a matter not just for our wonderful community, but also for the government as well.
And finally, Ruth,
we need to respond.
I know you don't dig into to people's backgrounds, and it's not done like that, but I would say you do play an important role too when people come in and saying, it could happen to anyone, you're okay, things will get better. You know, I'm not saying you're a counselling service, don't get me wrong, but I would say there's a lot of that goes on just in reassuring people that it is okay and that hopefully your difficulties will pass and we're all in this together, you know, to use that phrase. I would say there's quite a bit of that amongst you and the rest of the volunteers.
Absolutely, Greg. We had a meeting with some of the other folks from the Inishowen Food Bank this week, and we were chatting about that whole wraparound service. But it's about the whole person. It's seeing somebody as a human being who's just any one of us could be in that situation, and so all of us do seek to make sure that people get not just a welcome, a warm welcome, compassionate welcome, but also the opportunity to be referred on to other services if that would help. So obviously here in the exchange we have Insight and Assurance, so we're able to refer people to counselling services. And I know in the other food banks they refer people to pet advice or, you know, all sorts of extra services that can make a real difference in their life. So it's about caring for the whole person, not just giving out a food parcel.
Okay, Ruth, I hope you and the team get a little lift from this. People can, in terms of donations, people can get more information by going to exchangeinishowen.ie. And if you have something to spare, if you maybe want to forgo one luxury at the till and get some food for a fellow county person, that's all up to you. You have that within your power to make a big difference to someone and some family today. It could be the difference between an 8-year-old having a decent dinner and not. That's literally, Ruth, I am actually, you know what, I'm actually trying to pull at the heartstrings as well, because it is, we have to face this reality that we're in, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate your time and the compassion and care that you're showing as well, Greg, because, you know, you sort of on the ground, the volunteers, I know they've really struggled a bit recently, so that's an encouragement that others are sort of joining the call and helping out. Thank you so much.
Have a lovely day, Ruth. Keep up the great work. Love to you and all of the people working right across Inishowen. That is Ruth Garvey-William, who's a volunteer with the Inishowen Food Bank. If you wish to help them in the work that they do, exchangeinishowen.ie. And when someone, our neighbours, our friends, our cousins, whomever it might be, goes along to one of these food banks looking for assistance, we need to make sure that those shelves aren't empty. And yes, we would love the state to be doing this, but it's up to us. We're going to have to rally round and help each other, which people do in fantastic numbers. But as you heard from Ruth there, donations are down. The cost of purchasing food is going up, and people are struggling to eat this weekend.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 9132033.
Bigger really is better when it comes to great value in TVs at Ben Sweeney Euronics. Raymond Sweeney here to tell you about some of our big screen TVs, like the LG 55-inch Smart TV for $529 with the free LG X-Boom portable speaker worth €200, or the LG 65-inch screen for $649 and the amazing 70-inch model for just $749 while stocks last. Get the screen you've always wanted for less right now at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre Dunlow.
Do you feel it? An actual warmth on the breeze. Oh, it feels like summer, all right. Which feels like get-togethers, garden barbecues, match trips, beach days. So head to Centra for delicious Irish barbecue meats, the freshest bakery, salads, exclusive wines and chilled beers. Get full-on summer feels at Centra. Feel good, shop smart. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy, sensibly.
There's fantastic value at Homeland Letterkenny Garden Centre this Saturday, 27th of May, for their Garden Super Saturday. Buy Homeland Lawn Hero and get a 5-litre sprayer free. All shrubs buy 2 get 1 free, and there's multi-purpose compost buy 2 get 1 free. Shop in store at Homeland Letterkenny with expert advice from our experienced team. Offers mentioned available this weekend only.
Why did I choose Ulster? I wanted a university who could give me the biggest possible future, but also the best possible time now. Somewhere I could make friends and have good crack, but also to set me up for the best job possible. I'm planning to take up one of the study abroad options, and then my big plan is to specialise in media law in LA. But for now, NI has one of the lowest student living costs in the UK. So, night markets, here I come.
Learn why over 30,000 students choose Ulster at ulster.ac.uk/go north. Apply now for this September.
Rossview Interiors, together with Donegal Tile Centre, are having a mega 3-day sale, which continues today and tomorrow Saturday. Get a massive 35% discount off a huge selection of light fittings and pictures. There's dining sets from €790. 2 1-in-1 chocolate sofa suites reduced to €995. And there's huge discounts of occasional furniture. Make your way to Rossview Interiors, Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, today or tomorrow, to pick up a real bargain.
And just off the back of that last conversation, the people of Donegal in the northwest aren't found wanting. And just to give you an update, I might have mentioned it in passing, but when we spoke to people that operate food banks in other parts of the county early last week, or it was last week anyway, at some point, there was a wonderful upsurge in donations. One person went in and donated €2,000. Now, that is huge for a food bank, because they were able to buy so much stock with that. And then many others of you were able to donate smaller amounts. So, 100 people donating a tenner, that's 1,000. As I say, I can't believe that we're at the point now where we are reaching out to food banks to try and assist in their fundraising drive to feed hundreds upon hundreds of families across Donegal. But that is precisely where we are at currently. Right, let's move on to the next topic. And we're joined on the programme now by Sinn Féin Finance Spokesperson, Deputy Pierce Doherty. Thanks for joining us, Deputy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
Just before we get on to this subject, and I just might ask you, as the finance spokesperson, as someone who's understanding of how politics work, we struggle, or I struggle certainly, to understand or to understand why we don't have maybe a fund or something from government that can be distributed amongst food banks that, obviously would be broadly welcome, but also through the great network of food banks we have, we know would benefit those that are most desperate at this time. Is there any barrier to a government or a party like yours calling for such a move, so that we, as I say, we have almost 1,000 families, I'm told, that regularly now rely on food banks, genuinely need the food banks in Donegal alone, so we can extrapolate from that it's many multiples of that right across the country. Why, I wonder, are we not doing something direct like that, rather than the usual political kite flying and what have you that we're seeing at the moment?
Well, look, I think that's why a lot of people get very, very angry when they hear kind of well-off ministers, flying kites and what's an orchestrated spat. Like, this is completely and utterly designed by Fine Gael and designed with a purpose in mind, and that is to distract people away from what's happening right now, and to talk about something that's down the road in 5 or 6 months, and that's what it's all about. Because look, we know that energy bills are coming through the doors. The government are doing nothing in relation to increased energy bills. I raised it last week in the Dáil. We see that wholesale energy prices have reduced by 57% since March last year. That's basically what it's been sold on the market to the energy companies. But the energy companies have increased their prices, not reduced them by 57%, but increased their prices during the same period by 63%. And government are doing nothing. Like, despite the fact in other countries right across Europe, in Germany, Austria, Belgium, France, all of these countries, the governments have stepped in and they've put a cap on the prices for customers. And then you've got the issue in terms of food banks. I was just looking at some of the statistics in terms of the amount of food that is actually provided by some of the big retail companies to these food banks. It is absolutely enormous, and it just shows the dependency on food banks. Now, what we've been calling for, Greg, to answer your question directly, is for a discretionary fund to be set up to actually support people that would be administered through the likes of community welfare officers, where people would be able to get support, not just on food, but also it might be to pay your electricity bill or to service your car. Like all of these bills compete with each other, and look, the work that food banks are doing and the generosity of people is just second to none, but we need state intervention to support these people. And it's no surprise that more and more people are looking at food banks to just get by, because the government deliberately made sure that those who were dependent on social welfare were actually going to be poorer this year, because they decided not to keep social welfare rates in line with inflation. So when you make those kind of conscious decisions, you have to understand that there's consequences to that, and the consequences are real. The consequences are people sitting in the dark because they're afraid to turn on the light, or cold during winter months, are not able to put food on their table without having to queue for food banks.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into debate about this as such, but that being said, I mean, you couldn't make the commitment today, could you, that that such measures would be put in place year one under a Sinn Féin government? Like, just put it down basically. How much would weekly welfare increase budget one if you were the Minister for Finance?
Well, we argued that, and we still argue, because we think that there's an argument even at this point to raise social welfare rates. So we argued that social welfare rates should have increased by €17.50 to keep in line with inflation. That's what we put forward. We're developing our budget for next year. Obviously, inflation rates aren't going to be as high next year as they are this year, but there will be a significant increase required in relation to social welfare. That increase will have to be at least €10, and maybe more, because the government haven't provided the adequate response last year. So if the government don't keep you in line with inflation, then unless you get prices going down, which isn't happening, then that means that you're always going to be a bit poorer. So unless the government go a bit further next year, which they're unlikely to do, then you're not catching up. So, we've made it very clear in relation to that. We also look at this not as a tenor for everybody. We look at the evidence that is there. Those that are most at risk of poverty are people such as single parents. They're people who have disabilities. That's why there's an additional cost to disability. So those with disabilities, we argue, should have an additional support above that. And, all of our policies should be based. And I'm involved in politics, so I know it's hard. We all want to get re-elected. We want to be in government. We want to affect change. But our policies need to be evidence-based. So we need to be supporting those most vulnerable first and foremost in everything we do. And that's why this that's really, it really annoys me what's happening with these Fine Gael ministers, because they're just so out of touch at what is happening.
Yeah, but there is a cohort there that also perhaps would welcome any break they could get as well, because a lot of the people we talk of are a lot of the people that are accessing food banks, for an example, are working families that would benefit from those proposals. But I'm kind of
huge amount of people that are accessing food banks are benefiting are accessing food banks. People who are working are accessing food banks. It's no longer people who are not working. We have a huge scenario of the working poor now in the state. But what I'm talking about here, Greg, is that people need relief now. They don't need a promise of what's going to happen next January. They need intervention now. And the government, like what Fine Gael's talking about, these junior ministers are on 150, 160,000 euro each, or about that anyway. It's somewhere in that region. They will benefit 5 times more from the measure that they're putting forward than somebody earning 40,000 euro. It's just, I always say, whenever we're putting forward a budget as a party of opposition, and hopefully if we get the support from the public as a party government, the first test it has to pass is the fairness test. So why would you give somebody on 140,000 euro 5 times more than you would give somebody on 40,000 more? Now, these junior ministers might say that they're struggling as well, that their cost of groceries are going up. But I'll tell you something, the people who are really struggling are those who are on 30 and 40,000 euro and find it really difficult to get by. So of course there needs to be a tax package in next year's budget. It has to benefit those that are in the squeeze middle, but it also needs to benefit the working poor. So, and it needs to be fair. That's the key thing.
Okay, I get you, and that's not why we invited you on, but I appreciate your comments, and we have some sort of commitments that we can check if and when Sinn Féin is elected and as when he's elected to government and you announce a budget. Okay, but what we invited you on to talk about is the lack of respite services for children here in Donegal. It was up for discussion in the Dáil. We have one parent affected by this, but from your perspective, what are you hearing? What is the problem?
Well, we have a situation now, and I've spoken in your show about this in the past, where the Drumbo Respite House has been closed to adults and children for the last 3 years. It's over 3 years now. It's since March. We understand the reasons why it's been closed to those services, and the reason being is that there are four adults with disabilities who have presented as homeless in the county, and there was no place for them, and they have been accommodated in a Drumbo Respite House. As a result of that, the services for parents is no longer there, and you know, this is a lifeline. It's very, very hard, for anybody to understand unless you step into the shoes of somebody who is that family who needs respite. And when we talk about respite, what it is it's just, for some, it's just a break. It's for them to recharge their batteries, because they have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job, and it's a job that they love. It's a child that they have, or it's an adult that is dependent on them. But in some cases, it's the case where the family isn't getting any sleep, where the state understands that they need a break to recharge their batteries. It might be one night, it might be a couple of nights, it might be a case that there's a family wedding and that there's nowhere else for this child bar to have respite, or it might be a case that they have to attend a funeral. So these are the type of events that you need a respite for. When we have a situation when respite is not available to these families, it puts these families to breaking point. And that's what's happened here. And what the problem is, look, families understand crises has happened. People with disabilities have presented as homeless. They've lost out as a result of that. But commitments have been given by the HSE. I raised this 2 years ago with the minister at the time. The minister on the floor of the Dáil told me it was being dealt with as we speak, were the words that she was talking about. Last year I raised it again. These individuals were supposed to be rehoused in suitable accommodation that were designed for them. Now, one of the four has been rehoused at this point in time. We were told year after year that this would happen. We were given false promises in relation to when it would happen. The latest, when I raised it in April, was that it's not going to happen now till the end of the year. And that's just not acceptable to families. And it just, again, shows us how we treat vulnerable. And I said it yesterday to the Taoiseach that, parents have to go on Highland Radio and speak out about this to try and, get the public. Well,
they're desperate by the time people contact us. But in response to you, Micheál Martin commented that staffing was the issue, and I'm going to bring a parent in a moment who's directly affected by this. I respect Micheál Martin and what he does and what he's attempting to do, but he's the second most powerful politician in government, I think we could argue. We don't really need at this point senior politicians identifying the problems. What we need is solutions. So staffing is an issue. So what does that mean? Are we not recruiting? Are we not paying them enough? We are paying politicians to come up with solutions, not to identify the problems which we know ourselves. Were any solutions offered in your exchange with the Taoiseach yesterday that you could glean?
No, he just making the point that money is not the object, that it's an issue of staffing. We know what the problems are. The staffing isn't the issue in Drumbo House, by the way. The issue here is that the four individuals have to be, and those four individuals have to be catered for. It's not about one against the other. They have to be catered for in suitable accommodation that suits their needs. They've been put into emergency situation in terms of Drumbo House, and they have to have suitable accommodation that meets their needs. But we're 3 years on. This is not acceptable. Parents are reasonable, and parents can understand that emergencies happen, but 3 years on is not acceptable in relation to this. And it's not a case that money is not the obstacle. I attended a public meeting down in Donegal Town a number of years ago where we were trying to get Seaview House reopened. Now, thankfully, we have got Seaview House reopened. Rehab at the time, who was operating Seaview House, put in for a tender for 5 days operation and 7 days operation. What did the government do? They did 5 days. There was no respite at the weekend. weekends, which the parents were saying, this makes no sense whatsoever. As I said, if you're going to a wedding, it's usually at the weekend. Like, if you're going away if you just want that wee break with your partner, or something like that there, it's usually at the weekend. Seaview House, the government penny pinching decided not to provide the services. Rehab had the staff that wanted to do it. Now what's happened after pressure, the HSE has turned around and told me last month that they have made the money available to open 7 days, but it's still not opened. So there is penny pinching in relation to some of this here, and it's really, really annoying because, this is real desperation stuff for a lot of families.
Well, some people are
at liberty to tell the stories, but I've heard the stories,
and I know myself of cases where parents are so desperate and in such difficult situations that they've had to contact TUSLA themselves, self-referring to get their children put into care because they simply don't have the supports and they cannot do it anymore. Deputy Pearse Doherty, thanks for your time this morning on both issues. I do appreciate it. I want to bring Marie into this conversation because we spoke to Marie really quite some time ago, who was calling for Drumhope House to be made available again for respite. And Marie, it's hard to believe here we are still. We know what the problems are, but we're looking for solutions here, and when we seem no closer to getting that, and this is just having a huge impact on you and other families.
Well, exactly. The situation just seems just to be left to drift on, and even though the people in power are saying that they understand and, they're working to address the issues, we're still back at square one. There doesn't seem to be any change in it. And, could it go on for another year, another 2 years? I mean, the way it's going and the way things seem to be happening, that's the way it's looking.
You have 3 children.
There any easy solutions.
I beg your pardon. Sorry, Marie. You've got 3 children in need of respite.
Yes. Well, my eldest daughter, she had qualified for Jumbo House and she had been receiving the service. But during the whole, the lockdown, when Jumbo House was closed, my other 2 children were deemed in need of the service as well. But I haven't been able to access that service for my other 2 children or, all 3 kids, really,
And what does that mean? How does that impact the family, Marie? As much as I'm not trying to delve into your private life, Marie, sorry, but I just want so people understand what impact this has on you as a family.
Well, it's very difficult to make plans, plans for trips away or just the general things that maybe kind of might come up. Situations might happen in life where you might need someone to take the kids, like overnight, as Pearse was saying, their weddings, funerals, like those real life situations has happened in our family, and only if we were very lucky in those situations, the last minute thing, it could easily have been we were left with no one, to look after the kids, but you can't be completely relying on, what I mean, 1 or 2 family members all the time, but they could be in that same situation themselves, going to the same wedding or the same funeral, or, do you know what I mean?
And also, too, you don't always necessarily want to be asking favours. You want as a family to be able to make your own decisions and do your own stuff yourself. And quite rightly, too, you raise this issue with the Ombudsman because this is about you, your family and your children. And what did the Ombudsman for Children have to say on this?
They haven't got back to me yet. I've just put it in. But my argument would be they have a right to respite in their own area. I mean, in fairness, the HSE had offered, to my eldest child, Ballymacud House. We talked about this before, Greg. Like, that's well and good. Like, Ballymacud House serves Letterkenny. But as I said before, that would be then, taking away a service from the Letterkenny area. That they have to share it out in a wider capacity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
when there's
exactly.
Already kind of resources are stressed or limited.
Mm-hmm. You're told recruitment is an issue, and we have, and I don't begrudge them, but we have, as was mentioned, politicians on really big money to make big decisions. There's people within the HSE and other services that are on really big money to sort problems out. You know what I mean, Marie? I'm sure you have to sort problems out on a daily basis in your life. I have to do it too. But we don't get paid an awful lot to do it. In fact, a lot of it we have to sort of do because that's our role. Like,
Yeah.
where's the accountability? We've got the Tánaiste just saying it's recruitment. You've probably been told by the HSE it's recruitment. Then it might be because of alternative. We don't need to know this. We need these people to fix the problems, Marie.
Yeah. I think recruitment on one side, but I think mostly to Drumble House. There is another service that has been kind of diluted in Fun Valley area because they had been having problems recruiting Glenside. That was formerly known as Glebe House. My understanding was a worker had retired and hasn't been replaced. So there is genuine recruitment issues there. But in terms of Drumble House, I just think they just need to purchase more properties.
Okay. Right.
Maybe I'm being very naive in thinking that. Is it as simple as that?
But you see, the thing is the reason you're doubting yourself is because you are thinking in your mind, could it be this simple that I've actually come up with a solution here? Do you know, that sort of a way? And yes, of course you're correct. That's what it's down to. Marie, listen, stay in touch with us, will you? And we'll chase it up with the Ombudsman as well, I think, because I just think maybe that's a pathway that we could work together on and try and come up with a solution and get a ruling or a finding and see what the story is. And of course, you know, Marie,
we've got a date.
Yeah, exactly.
A date, so that we can give families hope, because I'm talking to other mothers that, you see, summertime's particularly difficult in our situations because, there's no school and you have the long, drawn-out summer ahead of you that you have to try and find things to occupy the kids and all the rest, and let your family have a break in different ways. Yeah. So summertime's going to be very difficult.
And often in families as well, Marie, there are other children that don't require respite care, and we have to also say, well, how is their life being impacted by this as well? And it's always difficult because it kind of feels like, I don't know, you start questioning some of the things you'd be thinking and stuff like that. They're not you, Marie, but parents who want to make sure they're the best for one child, but also want to give opportunities to other children that maybe are in a different position. But we're with you 100% on it, Marie. Obviously, stay in touch with us, and we'll make representations to the Children's Ombudsman again, and hopefully at some point there is some sort of a solution. But thanks for helping us all understand the realities out there, Marie. Thank you. And Marie, I don't know what Marie's situation is, but there are other families and other stuff that we talk about the general struggles in life that we have to deal with, and then having to also deal with that as well. Some people are amazing what they can cope with, and to stay upbeat and go to work and yet deal with all of these challenges. It really is quite remarkable. All right, we're going to take a break, then we're going to be back with the news at 11.
At F&F, there's 25% off all clothing until Wednesday, 31st of May with your Tesco Club Card or app. That's 25% off your new summer dress collection. Now that's worth popping in for. F&F, fashion at Tesco. Products subject to availability. Available in the majority of larger stores.
Looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan? From your kitchen renovation to getting your garden barbecue ready, B&S Credit Union's Renovate Loan is ready to go. For loans from €5,000 to €70,000, visit our website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390, where our dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hiya, I'm Padder the Piggy Bank. Come here, will I tell you what has me tickled pink? We just got a home energy upgrade with significant government grants from SEAI for attic and wall insulation. You name it. Now we can huff and puff and blow outside and we don't feel a thing. Take it from me, with these savings, you'll be on the pig's back in no time. Search SEAI Home Energy Upgrade to reduce your use and your energy bills and discover a new world of comfort.
Supported by the Government of Ireland.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. €10 million worth of stock in store and ready to take home. All tiles, wood flooring, outdoor tiles and bathware. Everything is slashed in price. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Ireland's biggest range, best prices and in store to take home today. Sale now on.
Sleek, smooth, safe, modern. Oh, you want to hear more? Do you want to drive the most modern car in Donegal? There's a reason why it's our county's favourite car. The brand new diesel Kia Sportage, the multi-award-winning SUV, is available at iMotors now. Our team will take care of all of your needs. Visit imotors.ie or call in to us today. because how you feel when you drive is important to us.
Mick Flavin, 50 years in country music show at the Mount Derrigal Hotel Letterkenny on Monday the 12th of June with special guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham, Declan Ernie, Shuni Crampsey and Patsy Kavanagh. Tickets now on sale from the Mount Derrigal Hotel on 074 9122 700.
When a long week leaves you longing for adventure, swap your work days for waterways and paddleboard along the tranquil waters of Lough Derg, or go with the flow as you cruise along the Shannon. For more short break ideas, visit discoverireland.ie. Book early for the best value and keep discovering.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Join us for the Hyundai 232 Celebration Week, May 22nd to 28th. Celebrating Ioniq 6, winner of World Car Design of the Year, World Electric Car of the Year, and overall World Car of the Year 2023. And the Ioniq 5, winner of the same awards in 2022. Visit the Hyundai 232 Celebration Week to order your new Hyundai from our multi-award winning range, including Ireland's best-selling car, the Tucson. Hyundai, a class apart.
The 232 Celebration Week is now on at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny, until Sunday the 28th.
Okay, stay right where you are. We've a very busy hour, as you can imagine, coming up. Just close your eyes and imagine. That's what it's going to be like. We're going to have a look forward to the week's weather, which is looking really quite favourable. Not much rain forecast at all. We're going to be hearing about a few events taking place across the region, and that's all in the company of Michael and Fionnu, of course. Our regular guests on a Friday for That's Entertainment.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, we are approaching 11 o'clock. It's time for a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. In Tyrone, 11 people have been arrested in connection with the attempted murder of DCI John Caldwell. The senior PSNI detective was left with life-changing injuries after a dissident Republican gun attack in Omagh in February. The funeral is taking place in Gallia, Derry this morning of Rebecca Brown, the 21-year-old woman who died after she was hit by a Garda car outside Buncrana in the early hours of Sunday morning. The head of the HSE has written to staff asking them to volunteer to work over the June bank holiday weekend. CEO Bernard Gloucester asked staff to take on extra shifts to avoid a dreadful position in hospitals following previous long weekends. He said further overcrowding would have implications for the rest of the healthcare system. Meanwhile, the chair of the HSE's Regional Health Forum is urging Celta to make space available at Letterkenny University Hospital where children attending the emergency department can wait, particularly children with autism and other special needs. They told Councillor Jerry McGonigal they're working on a specific space and protocol for children, but that's not yet been implemented in Letterkenny. 10 groups in Donegal are to share just over €22,000 under the latest tranche of Community and Voluntary Energy Support Scheme funding announced this morning by Minister Heather Humphreys. The largest single allocation of almost 14,000 goes to Muff Sheltered Housing Association. Nationally, 166 groups are sharing €480,000. Works are to be carried out to improve safety at a junction in Inishowen following a number of near misses. Visibility at the Neely Crossroads is very limited. Councillor Johnny McGuinness says at the very least better signage is urgently needed. And temperatures are set to soar to 21 degrees Celsius this weekend. The Coast Guard is warning people to be extra vigilant on or near water. And as Greg said, more on that over the course of the next hour on the 9 till noon show. But for now, from the news team, it's a very good morning. We're back with more at 12 at noon.
And I'm sure, Donald, there are newspaper editors struggling for a place in Spain, Portugal, Tenerife, Canaries, wherever it might be, to find where it'll be. The
temperature's going to be lower than here. Absolutely.
And then we can say that it's hotter in Donegal than it is is in Malaga.
And that will happen at least for 3 hours every 5 years.
But it also means absolutely nothing. Okay, Donald, thank you very much indeed.
Every year, about 2,600 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're aged 60 to 69, you can register today for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample for levels of blood. If you need any more tests, we'll let you know. Register today at hse.ie/bowel screen or free phone 1800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
Okay, it is Friday. It's time for That's Entertainment with Michael and Fionnu. Before I introduce them, I'm going to light-foot it to Noel Cunningham. Hi, Noel. Are you muted? You are muted, Noel. You've been at this for long enough now. I'll tell you, where are you? I'm going to come over there. You're muted still. Unmute, Noel. I can't hear you. Okay, I'll demand you unmute. How's that going to work? Michael, how are you whilst I unmute?
I'm very well. Delighted to see you. It's the start of my weekend looking at your beautiful face.
You are mute. You're not muted anyway. Noel, are you there?
I hope so.
What's wrong with your fingers? You need to wash your hands or something. The phone's not responding.
No, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Oh, very good. Good morning to you and your listeners. How are you?
I am doing good. We're all excited for Sunday, June the 4th, because there's another exciting walk coming up. The Sleeve League Hill Walkers are having a charity walk, Glencolmkill to Port. What a beautiful little journey that is.
Oh my goodness, Greg, if you haven't done that walk, it's one you must do before you die, honestly. We call it Perth. We go over, you start off and you follow part of Sleeve Columcilla up by his holy well above that gorgeous village of Cashel, Glencolmkill, past the most beautiful little Church of Ireland, which is just a picture postcard in its own right. And you walk along the most extraordinary cliff faces that I've seen anywhere in the world. And we've done it on our Donegal Camino as well. It's just a stunning walk, but for a very good reason. Very many people do not realise the several thousand people that the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust have helped. They are just extraordinary. They come in, and it's not only about money, you know. It's just when a tragedy befalls a family and somebody is killed or dies or whatever in a foreign land, you know, the consular work that is to be done, the assistance in repatriating a body, sometimes financial help, or indeed a lot of cases financial help, because it costs such a lot. I think it costs about 12 to 15,000 to repatriate a body.
And do you know what about it, Noel, as well? And it reminds me a little bit about like the Donegal Hospice and other amazing services. People often, through grief, have had to avail of their services or the assistance, and so often they then become fundraisers themselves. Such is the impact it's had on their lives, often at the most difficult of times. And unfortunately, at the same time, we get very regular reminders of the work that the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust does, because it's when someone has been assisted by them and they want to come on perhaps and talk of a fundraiser or whatever it might be. And it is that type of an organisation, isn't it, Noel?
Oh, very much so. And as you say, born out of tragedy, the Bell family themselves. And, you know, Bríd Sweeney over there in the west of Donegal, she did an amazing event. I think it's about a year ago now. I can't just quite remember. As you say, a lot of people in Donegal who've sought assistance end up being the assisting, and it's just lovely. And that's the spirit of giving that helps that amazing work to continue.
Yes.
And this walk on Sunday, June the 4th, is no different. It's just everybody will gather in that beautiful village of Cashel, Glencolmkill. at John Onion's bar. They will register, or indeed, if they can't walk, and I do stress that, please go online to iDonate and make a donation, because the wonderful people and the Slieve League walkers, they put their heart and soul into this, and there are people involved in that who have been assisted by the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust. So
right, so it is Slieve League Hill Walkers Charity Walk, Glencolm Kilter Port. It's a Grade B walk, 15k, 3 to 4 hours. Walking boots are required. The walk departs, as you heard from Noel there, from John, I can't read it, the writing's too small.
John Onion's bar.
I was going to say, it's not like me not to know the name of a bar, but I haven't come across this one. It's at 1 o'clock. It's at 1 o'clock. Register from 12 noon, and if you can't walk and you want to help, you can go to iDonate there and donate. Noel, thank you very much indeed. I know you have other appointments, so sorry for coming to you late, but we appreciate your time.
Not at all.
Take care of yourself.
God bless. I'm off to tell people about our wonderful award for Best Hotel in Ireland again.
Congratulations. Amazing. Flying the flag, not just for the Northwest, but for the country, and beat off amazing competition. Right, we'll chat to you Sunday, I think.
You certainly will. I'll be over suited and booted to help the presentation of those wonderful awards Highland Radio have been sort of pioneering, and it's such a great community initiative. It's marvellous.
Take care of yourself. Noel Cunningham there. Okay, now, Fionnu Rabbit, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And again, good morning to you, Michael Leddy. How are you getting on?
Good.
Excellent. Okay. Right. I want to start with you because I'm curious as to, did both of you see... Oh, yes. Okay, I can start with both of you.
Yes.
Because both of you went to see Fast... I was going to say Fast X, Fast 10. It's the 10th Fast and Furious.
Yes, exactly, yes.
So...
We couldn't go separately. We're joined at the hip now, so we have to go together.
Say, you seem more enthusiastic. I'm tempted.
Well, because I've never... This is the only one I've really seen.
So you started at 10.
Yeah. Now, I think I probably saw one or two
on ITV2 or something.
When I remember seeing them in the cinema.
With 84 text messages giving an encapsulation of everything she needed to know going in.
So
you loved it, didn't you?
You tried to make sense of the storyline. Well done to you. Right, okay, let's start with you because you have watched others in the franchise.
I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I love these movies as much as the Marvel movies. They're a real passion thing for me. Last Saturday night I watched 8, which I think is probably
you watched 8 films.
No, number 8.
Okay, right.
Sorry, that's a good. No, fair enough. Yeah, that's a good.
It's not. I was being.
I know you were being funny, but I was like, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Smart arse. Go on.
Number 8 is probably the weakest of the movies for me in a lot of ways, and for a lot of fans. When you check the audience scores, I felt the story was a bit of a retread. It's still a very good action movie, but it wasn't quite up to the mark, and I saw that in the cinema in 2017. I watched 9 on Sunday. Pause for joke from Greg. No joke. No, this ain't. You're not. Much better film. John Cena joins the franchise. Much better than 8. Really enjoyed it. Monday night went to see 10 in the cinema. This is a huge step up from 8 and a step up from 9. I think it's probably on a par with Fast 5, which I've always said is one of the best action films I've ever seen. Therefore, 10 must also be one of the best action films I've ever seen. I loved every frame of this. It had a much better story than 8. Much better story than 8, and it was a lot. It was better than 9 as well. It brings Jason Momoa into the franchise as the villain. He is absolutely over the top in every way conceivable, and it's hilarious. I love this franchise because it doesn't adhere to logic. It's like the A-Team. It's like Wile E. Coyote. It's like
it hasn't always been like that.
No,
though.
it was.
It's lost. It's lost the run of itself.
Well, it started off as being about street racers. And then about film 7, Kurt Russell came in. Well, they started with 4, 5 and 6 was a trilogy in the middle. By the time you get to these newer ones, they're like a secret agent team. They take on missions. 5 was the one that really upped the ante with this massive bank vault that they dragged through the streets of Rio. And they've just kept getting bigger. 8 had them going up against a submarine, which I loved, even though I didn't love the movie. I loved the submarine. 9 had them driving a car in outer space, crashing into a satellite, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. And this movie has a 10-ton bomb rolling through the streets of Rome. It's so cool.
Which one was the one with the 200-mile long runway?
That is...
It's like a 15-minute
it goes on forever. Yeah, it goes on forever.
Like the runway would have to be from here to Sligo.
It couldn't work because it would go over the curve curve of the planet. So they were saying like it can't work. There's like is it like a 14-minute sequence?
You definitely don't want to bring your logic.
No,
I mean,
it's
really,
the A-team.
It's hard to park it though completely, Fionnu, isn't it? I struggle.
I normally now would be very good. And I would definitely say, leave your brain at the door. Don't be bringing it with you. I mean, as Michael mentioned, there is a huge bomb rolling through the streets, destroying France, going on fire, and yet actually not going off, which is awesome, isn't it? There is loads of apparently car doors on all cars are bulletproof automatically. You don't need to have a special. I don't know why people pay extra for bulletproof, because all cars are bulletproof, and regardless of it. And never be afraid if you get into an accident. I don't know, in this country, it's a disgrace how many cars we say are written off, because clearly you can roll it, drop it in water, pitch it from its head to its toe and turn it back again, and then stay driving it. We are just, I don't know, are we so up ourselves that we
Maybe
think
we're
we
getting
need...
the wrong cars. We need full Dodges or
Clearly,
something.
we're buying the wrong cars, or we just don't like things that have minor dents, because these things are amazing.
Okay, so right, you don't. If you were reviewing, if you were is it the Daredevil films, for an example, right? You wouldn't talk about parking your brain. You just view those films in a different way. So do we not have to view these films then as fantasy?
Yes.
Right. So rather than
I totally agree with what you're saying, and that's the idea of them. But the difficulty that I have with that, if I'm watching like a comic book or sci-fi, it's set in a foreign environment, whereas this is set in, or supposedly set in the real world, where the laws of physics exist, in the real world, where, you know, if you get shot, odds are you're not going to come out of it well. You know, fire is not great. This is the kind, you shouldn't really drive through it on purpose. So this is the problem I have with, which is why I would say, it's not that I have a problem with it. I don't think that I didn't enjoy this movie. It is an enjoyable movie, but you need to park your brain at the door.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to bring, and this is as somebody who has no affiliation to the characters, because I haven't really watched, I think I might have watched one or two back in the day when they first came out, but shockingly that's 20 years ago now.
22?
So
you see, I mean, in the trailer there's one scene, and it's not a spoiler, where his car, he puts it into first gear and it hops off a dam, and then appears to land and drive down the dam.
Yes.
Okay,
obviously,
right.
Greg.
So
obviously.
but so to see that happen, but it not to be sci-fi, that's where the brain needs to, I mean, you have to.
You need to.
But
This
is
is exactly
it cool
where
or is it silly?
I-
Is that
I-
really cool?
I lean on the cool. Yeah, I just lean to cool.
I think it depends on what you're going there for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to see these movies, I'm assuming that you've seen one or two before. I'm really here to say is if somebody is asking you to come and see this movie, go, you'll enjoy it. Leave your brain at the door. I mean, that's not even the crazy stuff. I mean, they go to what, I've forgotten his name. What's the actor? The main actor?
Jason Statham?
No, the main guy.
Oh, the main guy, Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. They go to Vin Diesel for the emotional depth.
Yeah, and he.
It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Even John Cena at one point was supposed to be giving emotional depth, and I'm like, whoa.
I like John Cena now is
that
very
would be
good.
I know, but I mean, it's a bit. I wouldn't say he has a wheelhouse of acting.
But Vin Diesel does make him look like Al Pacino, or you know.
And I like Vin Diesel in Vin Diesel stuff. I've seen, you've seen him in Triple X. You saw him in different things, and I thoroughly enjoyed
the Riddick movies are great.
But I definitely wouldn't.
Have range.
I wouldn't be going to him for the heart, the emotion. I mean, as in he's trying to portray it, and he, as I say, he's really got two emotions: fists open and fists closed. That's his emotional range, and you can tell where he's going if you watch his fists during it.
I mean, do we?
Jason Momoa
so the
is
storyline
insane.
Is a bomb.
No, it's Jason Momoa who it's a callback to an earlier film. He's out for revenge, Greg, because of something. He's out for revenge, so he's going after the team. Okay, And the bomb is one of the things he does. It's important to, I suppose it's not a spoiler. He sets the team. It sets the team up. The team are now,
and he wants them all in the one place, presumably.
but basically, they're now. These are of the last.
Does he work for the government now?
Yes, they work for Kurt Russell.
I didn't even realise whether they were good guys or bad guys. When I was into
they
this.
fleeted
between
Kurt Russell plays in several of the movies now, has played this mysterious character who gives them their missions and tells them, okay, this villain has this thing, it's going to destroy the world, you have to drive in and get it.
It's off the books,
It's off the books.
We deny.
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
Yes.
They're Mission
They're
Impossible,
connected to an agency,
but it's very uncynical because it's all about they're working class heroes. These are guys who are comfortable underneath the hood of a car. That's why it's a much more grounded franchise. They use old style walkie talkies. They're working guys.
I can't believe
they're not using earpieces.
Not even old style walkie talkies. They use, do you remember when Santi brought you the walkie talkie and it was like about 4 inches high, and then everybody has one.
If you could
and
get
they
into
never thought maybe
if
we
you
should
could get
change
into the
it.
next room in here, it was like, oh my God, what have they created here? But you couldn't, so you have to stand looking.
It's one step
two
up.
cups and a piece of string.
Exactly, it's one step up from 2 tin cans.
Barely.
And
Except they don't need batteries.
It's very now. I will say about that. Jason Momoa plays the baddie in this. He is so over the top. I mean, he makes the early Bond villains look like they weren't trying. He's so over the top in it. It's even between it. His look, just everything about him is so over the top, and
hilarious.
He's just this crazed sociopath, or psychopath, probably really the best way to describe him. But
some of the scenes we can't talk about them, but they're hilarious.
Yeah,
they're hilarious.
it borders on.
We can't talk. You see, but.
Yeah, But you see, this is the thing about this now. Is I've seen this movie. I think it was thoroughly enjoyable, but absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
It turns out that this is supposed to be the first of a trilogy now story within the thing. Will I go and see 11?
Because it ends on a massive cliffhanger.
I kind of think
massive.
I will now.
Four ended on a cliffhanger.
At least it doesn't take itself too seriously either, because that's not the tone of the criticism. It's not like it's trying to portray an absolute so at least it probably knows its space and its audience. You know what I mean? Like, it's not trying to convince you that such a thing could happen.
Yeah.
It's asking you to just let it wash over you.
In the previous
that's
movie,
kind of the thing.
In the previous movie, Tyrese Gibson's character Roman, he has this thing early on where they're caught in a gun battle and he gets out without a scratch. And throughout the entire movie, he's like, guys, all the crazy stuff we've done.
Remember that, yeah.
Have you ever had he's like, are we invincible? And it's like, it's the franchise looking at it's self-referential. It's like, okay, these guys, they never get a scratch.
Again, I feel like giving it slightly too much more credit than it deserves.
Well, look at.
I think they had to sort of reference that because it was,
it's first.
a 28th film.
It is ridiculous. Yeah,
but it's the same thing as like this is not new. The A-Team did this. I was watching it.
Yeah, but we knew what the A-Team was.
We did this. I watched an episode.
No, the only thing with the A-Team,
was far more believable.
Yes, exactly. The only thing with the A-Team was that they went out of the way to show you getting out of the cars.
Yes, they would.
But it was never where it fell like all the way down a dam. Or something,
I know, but that wasn't practical.
Occasionally they had bandages,
but it wasn't practical.
These guys. I mean, I guarantee you, Vin Diesel came out of that dam without a scratch.
Yes.
I mean, this guy is Teflon. It's unbelievable.
But then it's the same. No, it's the same as the A-Team. It's the same as Laurel and Hardy. You go back to the music box, 1932. The guys are putting the piano up and down the steps.
No,
you have to just park your logic and accept the fun of what you're watching.
I think your argument, instead of progressing, is actually regressing. So maybe we should move on. What are you going to give it out of 10?
10 out of 10.
All right, so what are you going to give it out of 10? I'll ask in two parts. What are you going to give it out of 10 for a Fast and Furious movie?
10 out of 10.
And what are you giving it as a movie that's not in that franchise?
As just an action movie?
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Fionnu?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I did enjoy. I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it, so I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8. If they ever actually get anybody who can act and put them in this movie, it's going to be terrible for everybody
look at
else.
the amount of people who can't act that they've given jobs to.
100%. I mean, Helen Mirren is in this.
There are 4.
It may be her worst performance ever.
There are 4 Oscar-winning actors in this movie, including Helen Mirren, Brie Larson, you have Rita Moreno, and you have Charlize Theron. And they're Oscar winners, each one of them.
I watched the film during the week
you're
with...
denigrating the Oscars to me.
A very famous actor whose name escapes me at the moment. He was in the Shawshank Redemption.
Tom Hanks?
No.
Morgan Freeman?
Yeah, Morgan Freeman.
Oh, okay.
And he's won Oscars, I'm sure.
Yes.
And this was the biggest turkey of a film you'll ever watch. In Ritual Killer or something it was called. It was absolutely
Never even heard of that.
It's terrible.
Is it brand new?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. But what I'm saying is because actors have won Oscars in a film doesn't mean nothing. Okay, well, listen, I think it is a very good... It's a brilliant date movie, I think. I think this sounds like it's going to be...
definitely going to be talking about it.
Exactly, okay.
But it's definitely not a first date movie. Because if somebody brought me to this movie on a first date, I would question the sanity of the person who brought me. And I'd be like, is this guy... smart or what?
One thing
I definitely must have talked about it with your date first.
One thing about it is, if you look at the audience scores for the Fast and the Furious movies, they're all in the 80%. This one is actually, at the moment, the highest of the audience scores by 1 point. It's 1 point above Fast 5.
And you know what? Maybe we want to be able to park our brains at the door more than we ever did.
There's a lot to be said for that.
It's three above
There's a lot to be said for it. But I mean, look at The Martian was a movie that came out and it went really well. And apparently, again, why are we spending billions in NASA when all you really need is a black plastic bag and duct tape? I mean, what is NASA all about?
Did you see what landed on the moon? I mean, what we actually did send to the moon.
What?
Look, zoom in on the pictures. Have a look at it. Stuck together with.
Oh yeah.
It's stuck together with tape.
Yeah, it's not very
tin foil.
Well, sure, that's what I'm saying. But sure, you saw the Martian.
Which was good. That was good. That was good. It was good.
Yeah, is The Martian the film where at one point they go down to a planet and come back up and 70 odd years has passed?
No. Oh no, The Martian is the one. They've left somebody behind.
Yeah, that really bothered my brain. That I didn't like that at all. The person.
That's Matthew McConaughey one, isn't it?
Yeah. No. The Martian is the one where they leave behind
Matt Damon.
That's good. And he uses poo and stuff.
He uses poo.
He does, but again, tin foil.
Yeah,
black plastic bag
a film.
And masking tape apparently is all you need to survive on Mars.
Of course.
Why are we not all there?
We should be.
I don't question any of it.
He's trying to get us there.
Seems
back after
completely
these.
likely.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Hi, I'm at the Garda station, but it's nothing. I told this girl I was seeing for a while that I'd put shots of her up online. Shots she sent me, so they're mine really. I only said I'd do it, but the guards are saying that's a crime now. It's not my fault, Mum. I didn't do anything. I only said I would.
Threatening to share intimate images is a crime with serious consequences. Contact your local Garda station if you need to report it. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Itchy eyes, running nose, wheezy and mean hay fever is back on the attack. As pharmacists, Brennan's have a wide range of allergy remedies to come to your rescue. And we can advise you on how to lessen those hay fever attacks. So come in for a chat and we can talk through your options. In private if you like. You'll be back to enjoying summer in no time. For expert hay fever advice you can trust without the wait, we're always here for you. Just ask at your local Brennan's pharmacy.
Why did I choose Ulster? I wanted a university who could give me the biggest possible future, but also the best possible time now. Somewhere I could make friends and have good crack, but also to set me up for the best job possible. I'm planning to take up one of the study abroad options, and then my big plan is to specialise in media law in LA. But for now, NI has one of the lowest student living costs in the UK. So, night markets, here I come.
Learn why over 30,000 students choose Ulster at ulster.ac.uk/go north. Apply now for this September.
Century Complex is now serving pizza in our new and improved Bidas Corner bar. We have a wide range of delicious pizza options available. Call us on 074 9121 to book your table. And don't forget, Century Cinemas is located just across the car park. Check out centurycinemas.ie for movie times and tickets.
DMG Motors are bringing Skoda to you. Skoda test drive events are taking place at Super Value Dunlow on the 26th and 27th of May and Super Value Buncrana on the 9th and 10th of June from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Take a test drive in a new Skoda and you could win a shopping voucher. Order your new car and you will receive a free €250 shopping voucher for Cavanaugh's Super Value. For more information, go to dmgmotors.ie or call 07497 21396. Skoda, made for Donegal.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 11:27 and we welcome on to the programme now Tommy Marin. Hiya, Tommy.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good to have you with us. This shameless plugging of a fellow radio station with this signage behind you for those of our listeners that are watching. What's going on here, Tommy? I didn't book you for this.
This is Studio 4. We've become very posh at Midwest Radio.
Fionnu, how high do our studios go up?
Oh,
3.
Huge.
Come here, it's good to have you on the show, Tommy. I know you're not long off air yourself, and you're going to be making your way up to beautiful Donegal. Celebration Ireland. Tell us about the show, Tommy.
Okay, listeners will know that predominantly I do comedy shows, 3 Hail Marys, It's the Real McCoy, Nobody's Talking to Me. So to do something different for a change, I was watching Reeling in the Years on television last summer, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice to put a show on the road, a variety show that celebrates everything Irish, all the good things about Ireland over the last 100 years. So I went upstairs, started typing, and Celebration Ireland was born. So what it is, Greg, it's a 2-hour roller coaster memory variety show. There are 30 segments in the show. It starts with a commemoration to Michael Collins, one of our greatest heroes. We move on to tell people about the presidents of Ireland. There's a big screen on stage, there's a live band, and there's a comedy area. And on the musical side, and what is really exciting me about going to Donegal with this show tomorrow night, because we've been all over the country, Bridie Gallagher from Creeslaw was a pop icon long before your time, Greg. But back in the 50s and 60s, Bridie Gallagher was as big as Nathan Carter or Daniel O'Donnell or anybody else. She travelled the world and she had some great hits. So our band do a medley of the Bridie Gallagher selection of songs. We also do medleys of the likes of Christy Moore. We have a special segment where we remember songwriters and singers who are no longer with us, like Luke Kelly, Christy Hennessy, Liam Riley of Bagatelle, and others. We have emigration songs. We do John Kerr's A Little Pub in London monologue, and we have a lovely section of Irish songs, the songs that people learned in school, like O Ro Shedavahawera, Dilly No Daus, Trasna na Dunta, and others. And all of the music is done in medleys, so no segment is any longer than 6 or 7 minutes time. And then on the comedy side, we remember the great soap operas in Ireland over the years, the Reardons. We remember we've a comedy sketch from the Reardons. We've comedy sketches from Garda Patrol, the radio show Dear Frankie. I could go on and on and on. There are 35 segments in the show in its entirety, and people come out afterwards and they say, wow, that was a memory roller coaster for sure. The big screen, we also do a 4-minute segment where we put up 60 faces of well-known people in Ireland who have died over the last 100 years. And in a nutshell, that's Celebration Ireland.
Yeah, indeed. And it's fast-paced, as you mentioned, so much to fit in, so much variety over the course of that 2 hours. And it's multi-generational as well, I think, because there are people of an older generation that this will bring back some fantastic memories, and also the opportunity for younger people. And I don't like to put people in boxes, because Bridie Gallagher remains incredibly popular across generations, don't get me wrong. But it sounds like a lovely night to go out, you know, across a generation. I'm thinking a granddaughter, a father, and a grandmother side of a thing as well. I think there's something in there for everyone, Tommy.
You've kind of hit that on the head, because going around the country, some younger people are coming along and they come out afterwards and they say, gosh, you know, I never knew we had this many presidents, or I never knew there was a soap opera in Ireland called The Reardons. And I mean, we do a Christy Moore medley as well, which a lot of the younger generation would remember. And there's one hilarious comedy sketch where there's a farmer at the gate of his field ringing the Department of Agriculture looking for an ear tag that's missing for his bullock that he's bringing to the mart on Friday. But the person at the other end of the telephone is a machine. So a lot of the younger people we'll all relate to that, but younger people in particular. I'm really proud of this show because it does incorporate so many generations and so many of the great moments of Ireland. I could have put in 35 more, segments of the great things about Ireland. But as I say, it's a big screen. It's a beautiful wonderful four-piece harmonised band and lots of comedy on the other side of the stage. So if people never experienced Tops of the Towns or Sunday Night at the Gaiety with Brendan Grace, this is your chance to either relive it or see it for the first time. It's the only touring Irish variety show in the country, and we only have 2 more dates left. We're in Letterkenny tomorrow night, and then we're in Navan on Saturday week, and then it all gets put to bed, Greg.
Right, okay, so it's your last chance to see it up this part of the world, certainly on this run, and it's tomorrow night in on Greenon. It's at 8 p.m, and you can ring the box office to get your tickets. Best of luck, Tommy. Thanks so much for joining us, and continued success there. Okay. Right, as soon as you mentioned the Reardons, Fionnu, I thought of you. I don't know. I think you've lamented, is that the right word? The Reardons many's a time. Haven't you?
Beg your pardon.
No.
Oh, the temperature went down in here.
What age do you think I am?
You used to say that it was not that you watched it live.
I watched it live.
We used to have great shows in this country.
Yeah.
Not saying now.
Bracken was a good show.
There's still some good shows. I know people have watched with Kin and a few other things like that
Hidden
that have
Assets.
come up. But there was a time when we did.
So just on not losing
live.
the plot here.
No, I've never seen the Reardons live.
Well, what
Glen
show?
Rowe.
Do you remember
Glen
you
Rowe,
said?
maybe.
Do you remember? No, it wasn't Glen Rowe. Do you remember you said there was a show that they should put on the TV? There's brilliant older shows that you should put on TVs on a Sunday night. I'm sure it was you said there was a show.
No, I do
that
remember
you
us
talked
talking
of.
about that, but
Okay,
I don't remember what it was.
It wasn't Bracken, because that was a step up. Because that was Gabriel
I have
Byrne's.
kind of a good memory, and I
Yeah.
put my life on it
Yeah,
being a
'cause
Reardons, but I don't have the time to go
right.
through many Fridays of vlogs.
Just to prove you're right. Look, at the Reardons was a fantastic show. It's played, some amazing actors in it. Isn't that the one where Gabriel Byrne started out?
He did, yeah.
It was.
Well,
in
he
the
moved over
Reardons.
onto
Well, it wasn't the Reardons, because when I remember whatever show you talked about, you spoke with much more certainty than what you are
Well,
now.
there you go. I know, because I don't think I can't remember if I ever
Okay,
really
it'll
seen
come
them.
to me.
It was probably something like Year of the French, one of the mini-series. No? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
it was a regular show. Maybe it was Glen.
Caught in the Free
loved
State?
I loved the one. Was it To the Manor Born, or which
Yeah.
was that one? There was one of those. that
Irish
was
RM.
awesome. The Irish RM.
Irish
I
RM.
loved that one.
All right. Before this descends into a game of name that song or name that
Name
show,
that 70s TV
we're going to
Irish
take
TV show.
we're going to take our 11:30 break. We'll
Definitely
be back
my
with more very
wheelhouse.
shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents Smokey, the Legacy Tour. Hear all the hits live at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny on Friday, 2nd of June, and the Waterfront Hall, Belfast on Saturday, 3rd June. Tickets on sale from the venue box office, ticketmaster.ie and waterfront.co.uk.
I find that finding stuff is good. Finding that one earring down the back of the sofa, or finding my perfect match on a dating app. I even went to India once to find myself. And at Specsavers, an audiologist helped me find sounds I hadn't heard for years. With PRSI, the hearing aids were free. I find that extremely useful.
Find your lost sounds. Book a hearing test at Specsavers. Terms and conditions apply. You'll find them on our website.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets, and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Mr. Blue Sky. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated 75 million euro. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The Donegal senior ladies look to take their first Ulster title in 4 years this weekend. Maxi Curran side play Armagh in the big final on Sunday afternoon at Owenbeg in Dungiven. The game is live on Highland from the 3:30 throw-in. In association with Henry McGinley and Sons Limited, Milford, Donegal, specialising in structural steelwork, cladding and PVC roof systems. Call for a quote on 074 9153 181.
It's That's Entertainment with Michael and Fionnu. And Fionnu, that show you mentioned last week, the Steel Town Murders. I went.
yeah.
I burned through that. Watched it all. In a couple of sittings. I really enjoyed it. The hopping back and forwards, it's something I could live without.
Yeah.
But I understand it for the storytelling and to pad it out probably for the 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I would give it a good thumbs up. Did you conclude it?
No, it's still on. And it's
What
on.
did I watch it on then?
I don't know, because it's on BBC. So
No, they're made
VPN.
available. They're
I
made
used it on the iPlayer, didn't it? That's what I did.
They're made available for streaming.
I watched it on the iPlayer.
Yeah, you have the iPlayer. So I don't have access to that. So I'm still watching it week by week, and I am really enjoying it. As you say, the back and forth can be a bit difficult because I never realised that all men in the 70s kind of look alike. According to this program,
You think
anyway,
sideburns?
they all have
They
sideburns.
look like the boys, the 118 guys. Do you remember that used to, for the telephone when you used to ring directory inquiries?
Yeah.
And then they tried to sell insurance and then they went bankrupt or something anyway.
But that's it. They all have that kind of shaggy hair and a shaggy beard. So occasionally I'm like,
Wonderful
which one is that
moustaches.
again?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome facial hair. Occasionally I am a little bit, which one is that? But I'm really enjoying it. And as I said, the actual story is something that, again, you'd be kind of surprised that you didn't know more about it, because it had a lot of significance in law and in different things like that they went through.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to make a comment on it, but I can't, for fear that it's. I can't mention it. That it's because it's a real story, and it's if it was drama, maybe things would play out a little bit differently. But of course, they have to follow what happened in real life. But it's very well put together. The acting is really good, isn't it? The characters are good, and it's a good old-fashioned whodunit. You call it a procedural, yeah. That's what I like about it.
No, absolutely.
DNA testing,
yeah. It's early in the DNA testing and that kind of, but an idea of it. So it's more. I like it because it's more. It is about that, how it developed, how the police were thinking, different, changes in police thinking, that kind of thing. That's why I'm enjoying it.
And there's a few.
So
Is it them's? Is it not? Even though it's real, if you don't know the story, it does. If you don't know the actual history of it, there's a few sort of. Could it be that person or this person? You know the stuff you want in a show like that.
There's a lot of potential for who it might be now, and we're only in the second one yet out of 4.
Right, well, we'll wait then till you get to the 4th and talk about it more, but definitely worth catching up on them. You've also got Inside Man Down. I stopped watching this.
Me too.
Seemingly in a protest, and I don't know if I can articulate it correctly, but why did you stop watching it?
Well, I started watching it really to start off with it. This is the new thing that's on Netflix.
Yep.
It came out during the week. It's got David Tennant and Stanley Tucci in it. So you'd be like, boom, this is going to be awesome. It was on the BBC, I think, a few years ago.
Right, it was, yeah.
But it didn't really get much talking about that I noticed at the time, which, again, given the 2 actors that's in it, it'd be strange. I love the premise of it. The premise of it is that there is a man who's a criminologist who's in jail in America that actually helps people to solve crimes. And I was like, oh, okay, what's this all about? That's the kind of only information that you get when you're going into it. Then I started watching it. I actually found it really kind of disturbing. There's something very disturbing about it.
I'll tell you why I stopped watching it, and I'll try and articulate it. It deals with, it uses as a storyline, only as a storyline, child abuse images. And then there's a part in it where, for no real reason, one of the characters, for a cover story or something, or to protect his son or whatever, actually prints off these images and then re-downloads them to sort of give the impression it is he that's accessing them. And I could not watch a program that used something so horrendous as that as some sort of
plot device.
It's so serious to me that I just thought at that point I says I'm not watching this, because it is. Sometimes it's in life, right, and it has to be dealt with. But it was been used as a plot device, as a and it was just matter of fact. And his partner was like, right, okay, that makes sense. You should do, you know what I mean? And I just thought, no, I don't. And that's for me.
Right.
The rest of it, I could thought of, the premise was, but it's just for me personally. When it used that as a plot device, I was out at that point. That's all you can do is make decisions.
Based on it, I didn't think that now, because with all the other stuff that's going on around it, they needed some in order for the other bits of it to be in any way believable. And it's difficult to talk about it without, because I don't want to ruin it for people. People should be doing it. No, but people should be watching it if they're going to watch it. I don't want to ruin it for them. But basically, as I said, there is a thread of this child pornography, and that really it's because of the fact that there is a computer stick with child pornography on it. All these different series of events happen that are in, around and connected to that fact. I think that's not giving away anything on it. When you're watching it though, to me it needed something like that in order to make what's happening in the house in any way.
Understood. I get
it needed something that was that serious, that the repercussions and the ripples of.
But the problem for him to unravel the problem that was created. For him to unravel the problem that was created, I would have found it more palatable if he extinguished the problem downstairs than did what he did upstairs to try and cover that problem.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. We're really making this sounding very intriguing. Everybody's going to watch this.
I would have found that more palatable.
Yeah.
Than
I know. I understand what you're saying. I know
what they used to try and cover up.
Yeah,
because that crime to me is far worse than the crime that happened downstairs.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I know, and
if anyone's watched it, maybe they'll get it. I don't know, because it's crazy because we're talking about something so serious and at the same time not true. But you know,
no, what I understand. I mean, obviously I did think in some ways the way that they handled it was interesting, because you did get it from different perspectives, and there was a few things like that, and that I did find interesting. For me, it needed something as serious, but I understand what you're saying is in other ways then they're using it a little bit trivially, as in it's not as big a deal as you would think it is. But they needed something that you would be considered, and it was interesting the way they look at the ripples that this can have on a family and on a town and on the whole thing, and that was interesting to me as well. But then it just kind of went too farcical. It just got a little bit down a strange road. Now, a friend of mine, Denise, is texting me every day, have you finished it yet? Have you finished it yet?
Yeah.
She loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely thought it was brilliant.
And I think from time to time, I think it actually really kind of depends what brain space you're in when you begin to watch something.
And maybe you need to finish it, and then it would all make a bit more sense. You know what I mean? Maybe both of us, if we finished it, it would make the story would come round and make a bit more sense. When you don't finish something, sometimes you can be left stuck in a certain headspace. But I did find it very disturbing. Like, as I watched the first two together, and then I went upstairs to bed, and I was like, as I was walking up the stairs, I was like, oh yeah, it's giving me the shivers. It was like just
disturbing.
It was just kind of disturbing. Everything about it, the attitudes towards it, the thinking behind it. There was a lot of things like
just
that. So it's definitely one of
the logic doesn't. And the way it fleeted from the jovial interactions with the prisoner to the very serious, and for me, when you print something or you download it, you are actually contributing to it, if you know what I mean. And I just think
there's a definite argument for that there, but it's part of the whole.
Trying to protect your child is not a defence for doing that to other right now. Anyway, but
it's a whole.
See what the listeners think. I don't know. It's serious. So it's 25,000. Right. Okay. So you going to finish it?
I to be honest, I've tried at least twice, and I've ended up watching Star Trek Voyager. I know how that's going to turn out.
I support that choice. I support that. I endorse that choice.
But I should finish it, because I do feel, and as I said, my friend has watched a whole lot of it. She says that it loads more twists and turns in it. And maybe that's what I'm missing. You know what I mean? If I went to the completion of it, that would be the whole thing. Yeah. But surely somebody else out there has actually watched it, and they can say whether we should take it back up again.
08660 25,000. Back with more after these.
Who said electrification can't spark excitement? From introducing Ireland's first EV to redefining the family car, Nissan has always led from the front. And now we're breaking new ground once more with e-Power, Nissan's unique hybrid driving system, fueled by petrol, driven by electric, no need to recharge, giving you the pleasure of electric driving without the need to plug in. New Nissan Qashqai and X-Trail with e-Power. Drive it to believe it at your nearest Nissan dealer. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Go full Lidl for a summer of savings just like our customers.
Day trips, great value for money. Like, you can fill the trolley, you can fill a bag then to bring on a day trip, and then money for whatever else you need.
Pack lunch, bring fruit, bring sandwiches.
And money left over for a cup of coffee on your day trip.
Yeah.
Go on. Go full Lidl today.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
The Donegal branch of Diabetes Ireland are running a family educational weekend in the Great Northern Hotel, Bundoran, this Saturday the 27th. It will include educational workshops from 10 until 3, which are also open to the public. If you're living with diabetes, feel free to drop into some of the workshops by the HSE Donegal Diabetes team.
Okay, it is the 9 till noon show, and people always say, why do I say okay when I come back from an ad break? It's to indicate to these two to stop waffling. And that is an absolute fact. Right, okay, so it's kind of been a mixed bag today, I think. I don't know what to say, except to go to Bank of Dave, because that's down for both of you as well, and that's on Netflix. And also to, by the way, stop sharing your password. Whose password are you using, Fionnu?
Oh no, I have my own. I have my own Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually have loads of people's names in it.
Look at those.
I heard that
Look at those shifty eyes looking over the microphone at us.
In the States now, they're charging you.
I'm here now. No, we all got the email. Yeah, it's $4.99 if you wish to lend your password to someone. But if you're on Sky or something, say it's packaged, that's the end of it. My geolocation, Fionnu.
I know, but how can they say? So okay, let's just say that I am staying in a hotel somewhere. And I'm using
I think
my
it's the
Netflix
frequency with which you'd watch it. So say there were two people watching it concurrently.
That's a trick, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, a perfect example would be, say you go down to Galway for the weekend.
That's what I mean. If I was down there and I was watching it...
Do you have to stay in a hotel in Galway?
No, I don't.
Have they turned your back on you to that point now?
Nearly. Nearly have.
I'm coming... No, you're not. Stay where you are.
The builders are in. No, but when I go down there, if I'm staying in my...
Well, it's like Spotify, you see. They have an algorithm, So they will determine your patterns and if it's been watched at the same time and stuff. It's not simply like, there has to be some...
That's what I'm saying, is they're going to have to really look at it just to see.
My housemate has...
And also different profiles. Different profiles and watching... You know what I mean?
Well, I have loads of profiles on mine, but nobody looks at them anymore.
Sad.
Grumpy.
Mediocre.
Sleepy.
Angry. Flirty.
I don't watch rude stuff. It's not good.
That's the granny can't watch list.
Exactly.
I think, is this like Psycho, where the granny is actually you, really, in a different room?
Well, yeah, it's like, you've got loads of... It's probably more of my split.
I do, but I'm like, now I'm frightened. I do
my split personality.
Right, stay there. We'll go to Bank of Dave after we get an update from Alan O'Reilly, which hopefully is brief because it's consistent for a while. Alan, good morning to you. Thanks so much as always for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, short and sweet. It's lovely, lovely, lovely.
All right, thanks for joining us. I'm only joking. So, Camille, the one thing that's been a feature of the last few days, lovely dry weather, Alan, is the cloud, okay? So we're getting nice temperatures, but we're not getting that direct sunlight. Any hope of that over the weekend and into next week?
Yes, indeed. A lot of messages from the northwest who've been missing out on the sunshine. Still a good bit of cloud around. I mean, there is some nice sunny spells there this morning. The northeast is a lot more cloud than the northwest this morning. Tomorrow, probably going to see a lot of cloud around as well. Sunday, you will see some sunny spells. Temperatures probably 15 or 16 degrees in parts of Donegal. The good news really comes for the northwest next week because we're still going to have dry, settled weather. We're going to have a lot of sunshine and temperatures are actually going to get a lot higher, up to 20 degrees in Donegal, maybe even 22 degrees next week. Lovely. As the winds go from north to easterly. So stay with it. A lovely few, probably 5-7 days ahead.
Easterly sounds like offshore winds. So if anyone's out and about on the sea, take note of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and everyone needs to be careful around water these good days, because while we like to enjoy the sunshine, we can sometimes throw the risk aside. But high pressure really dominating right up until at least next weekend, which is the June bank holiday, which everybody wants to know about. Might just hang in there, Greg. It might just cling on for it.
Is anyone asking you yet when's the rain coming, though? There's bound to be some people looking for it.
Actually, believe it or not, farmers local to me in Carlow are already looking for rain. We've had below average rainfall for the year so far down here, and very little rainfall in May. So the ground is cracking, and yes, the farmers are looking for rain. So I've told them to hold off doing the rain dance for a week. Give us a good week.
Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather, thank you very much for your time as always. You can check out Alan with his extensive weather forecasts for the whole country, not just the East Coast, which is nice. Alan at Carlow Weather there. Okay, Michael and Fionnu. So, right, Bank of Dave. Michael, start with you perhaps.
True story. There was a Channel 4 documentary about this, 2012. Dave is a guy who lives in Burnley. A millionaire, built himself up, self-made millionaire, who wanted to set up a bank because he had got himself in a position where he was lending money to people in the community-spirited guy who really genuinely wanted to help people, and so decided to try and make it official. And he had to fight the banking authority in England because they were reticent about letting somebody set up a new bank. Hadn't been done in 150 years. So this is a rom-com, light comedic take on a true story. And it is definitely a feel-good movie. I watched it last night. As I was watching it, I was like, I've seen this movie before. And there was a movie a couple of years ago called Fisherman's Friends, which had exactly the same story beats the whole way through, as it's told from the point of view of an outsider coming into this community, somebody leaving behind the big city of London, finding when they arrive in this rural, smaller city that, gosh, everyone is really nice here, and I can even find love here. No great shock then when I went online after the movie to find that it's written and directed by the same two people that did Fisherman's Friends. They basically just did replace all on their script and just refilmed it. Now, be that as it may, Bank of Dave is a very enjoyable, feel-good movie. I wouldn't rave about it. It's probably like a 6 out of 10. It's okay. But if you've seen Fisherman's Friends, which I have, you're going to be bothered by the fact that it's exactly the same. I mean, the guy in this one is Joel Fry, who's done a few sitcoms. People will know him from different sitcoms and films. It's really his story. He's a lawyer who was sent up from London to meet Dave and to help Dave make this happen. But of course, he's a guy who, I don't want to go to this place, and he's making fun of their accents and all this kind of stuff. But gosh darn it, turns out that he gets charmed by the locals, and would you believe he meets a very attractive young lady. So it's the same as Fisherman's Friends, which bothered me. Mightn't bother you, mightn't bother Fionnu. Be interested to hear what she has to say. But I have to say, I didn't have any problem with this film. It is what it is. It passed an hour and a half. A good thing about it too, it's just the right length. It's not like a 2 hour 10-minute thing.
Yeah,
it's 1 hour 40. It's over.
It didn't bother me. Is not a glowing recommendation though.
Yeah, it's not.
I'll come back to you for marks out of 10. Fionnu.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Michael. This is a movie that we've probably seen 100 times. What I found interesting was, again, I like when I come across something that I didn't actually know the story of. And that's
so important.
So I didn't actually think that, to be honest, to me, although I see exactly what you're saying about the young lawyer and his part in it, that wasn't the main focus of the story. For me, the main focus of the story was the Dave character, because I just thought, like, this is a guy who is a real person. Like, he has his own tire company, I think it is, or car dealership, something like that he has. People started coming to him for loans, and like his own staff and different things like that, and friends of his. He started expanding and expanding. Then there was a question of whether or not he was going to get into trouble for it because it was too much, and his own company, he was sort of loaning out of his own personal company. So then that's when they decided to open the bank. It was interesting to see the kind of bank's reaction and what happened, and the reason why they needed the lawyer and all that part of it. So I actually enjoyed it. But then I do like English movies, and they do have a tendency, like there's certain type of movies that are done, and you couldn't imagine them being done anywhere else. You know, they just have that sort of kind of a UK English sort of a feel to them. And they are a feel-good movie. You know, this reminded me very much now as well of, you know, like the cinema. You know, the one where the Spielberg movie came to Wales. Was it in Wales or somewhere where the cinema was about to close down and suddenly they ended up, again, a true story that I hadn't known, where they ended up with Jurassic Park as like
what
a
you're
premiere.
saying, yeah.
And the English film or UK film organisation, whatever they're called, they tend to do a lot of these movies, and I actually really enjoy them. Now, as I said, this is not one of the best ones. I would definitely agree with Michael. You'd put it in around a 6 or so.
It's a small screen affair too, by the sounds.
And
of
it's
things.
only an hour. It's very much kind of sit down with a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yes.
You sit down with a nice cup of tea of a rainy evening.
Would you have a biscuit?
You would have a
Or
biscuit.
a chocolate bar. I like
yourself. Treat yourself.
Cadbury
Snack.
Yeah, I only have half a sugar in my tea, and a chocolate bar means there's no sugar in it. So what are you giving it out of 10?
No, I
as
would
we wrap
agree.
up?
It's probably only about a 6, a 6.5. But
That's right. It's very average.
but it's like you're sitting down and there's you want something that's a bit of a story that you don't really know and it's kind of interesting. Go with
That's it. You?
Yeah, the same.
Okay,
It's,
lovely
it's,
stuff.
it's worth watching.
Michael and Fionnu, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
if you
go
don't
ahead,
mind, before we
please.
go, just want to
yes,
say,
Eclipse.
we're very excited because just to let everybody know, we the Eclipse have a fantastic room that they call the Regal Room, where you can have food and drink, and it's kind of bringing the old style cinema with the new style feel to it, and they're celebrating their first anniversary this weekend, and so they've invited us. And I don't know about Michael, this is my first time at the Eclipse because I'm a bit lazy, so I'm really looking forward to heading over to seeing it this evening.
Lovely.
We don't even know what we're going to see.
They're keeping it a mystery what we're seeing.
Enjoy. Can we recap that next week?
Absolutely.
Fast X
stuff.
again.
Thank you so very much indeed. Next up's Around the Northwest, where John will be broadcasting live from the Irish Wheelchair Association for a celebration of their Community Day services. The open day is running until 3 p.m. today at the Glenview Business Park, Carnamugga, Letterkenny, and you're invited to come along and find out more about their assisted living service and employment opportunities within the Irish Wheelchair Association. Light refreshments will also be served. Okay. Have a lovely weekend. Be safe and be happy if you can, and rejoin us on Monday morning at 9. From me, Greg Hughes, and all the team here at Highland Radio. Chat to you soon.
The wind is our greatest natural resource.